Welcome everybody here. Welcome to another episode and our very first live show of It's All Bad. I'm Ukrainian Danny, your host. I'm here with...
I'm Keith.
It's Mike.
Uncle Mike. We got Reno in the house.
Reno, what's up?
Lawrence, where you at?
Right here.
All right, Lawrence.
All right.
Woo, what up? And we got our first of a few guests coming up tonight.
Big Lux.
Big Lux. Yeah, thank you.
Hard luck.
Welcome back.
Big Lux.
Yeah.
Before we start this off, I want to say that there's a few guests that we've had on that aren't with us anymore, and a few guests that we plan to have on. So I want to just, take a little second to pay our respects to them. We got Chris Collins, that was our first guest on this season back. Rest in peace. He
Rest
passed
in peace,
away.
Chris. We think about you every day.
Allison Knight.
Allison Knight. Yep. The Summer of Cheese. I'll never forget that. We had Grasso that was supposed to come on that didn't get a chance to, that passed away last year, and we also
Jimmy Rich.
Yeah. So rest
Jimmy
in
Rich.
peace, and this is in memoriam of them. Keith is going to tell some Jimmy Rich stories at some point. We got merch in the back. We got some new shirts, some old shirts. We got Andres holding down the merch table. Thank you. We got Narcan
Andres.
Nate. Yeah, we got Narcan Nate back there with Brandon the dummy, and he's going to be doing Narcan demos. There's Narcan for you guys to take home and fentanyl test strips. You can learn how to use it here and take it home with you. He'll be up here at some point with the dummy and do a demo, and then if you got any questions, you could ask him. And we got a very, very special musical guest. Can we announce it now?
Yeah.
We got Giant Drag playing for you guys.
Oh, what? Are you fucking kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the dummy's name's Brandon. Did he come to the West Coast from a Florida treatment center on
we did,
scholarship?
yeah, we flew him out.
Did he learn to cop on Skid Row?
Yeah. Well, he's actually named after one of our guests, Brandon O'Connell.
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
That's right.
Who did learn how to cop on Skid Row, yeah.
Mango Kool-Aid. Remember I kept talking about the mango Kool-Aid.
Mango Kool-Aid, that's right. Yeah, so what's up, Lux? How you been, man? What's happening?
Good, man. That introduction was a reminder how real this thing is,
Yeah.
Brutal. And we get to sit up here and joke about it and laugh about it. And at the end of the day, man, I'm grateful to be here. Really,
Yeah.
I am.
I'm grateful for you, Lux.
Yeah, man.
I love you, man.
Oh, I love you too. You guys are my tribe right
It's
here.
my first time talking to you. Like, when did you start using?
Back when I was about 13 was the first time that I tried,
Okay.
alcohol and drugs, and
Yeah.
kind of that same story with a lot of people. Mom was entertaining, and I was getting drinks for the adults and making one for myself, cleaning up stuff at the end, pulling out
You mean the
cigarette butts and
70s?
drinking, whatever I
70s
can.
and the 80s.
Yeah, man, all that shit kind of started. I was just doing some writing recently, and I think I caught an idea when I was really, really young that I either wasn't enough, I didn't measure up, I didn't fit in this world, and I kind of held on to that thought until it kind of became the narrative in my life. And by the time I was 13, I needed some kind of relief from this place, and it started with alcohol and gradually went into the weed and trying some coke. And by the time I was about 14, 15, crack was really hitting hard in Los Angeles, and it was sold
So
readily.
1 year you went from alcohol to crack.
I went from alcohol, weed to crack cocaine.
Wow, that's the heavy hitter. There you go.
Yeah.
Ain't no time to waste,
Well, then, I think it was maybe by 17. I had a cousin from the East Coast who was a dope fiend, and
Heroin?
yeah, shot me up a speedball. And I hear a lot of those stories about people when they drink and they heard like harps play the first time that they were delivered with alcohol. And that didn't really happen for me with alcohol or weed, but crack kind of. But when I shot a speedball for the first time, I said to myself, "This is what I want to do forever."
Was that in the 90s?
No, this is in 88.
Oh, meth was so good now. I'm so jealous, dude.
No,
That
he's talking about
was in meth.
Man,
That was in meth.
Speedball. No,
That's
speedball.
heroin.
Heroin and coke.
Yeah.
Wow, okay, my bad. Wow,
A
that's
goofball is meth and heroin.
I'm
Yeah,
so meth
that was
oriented.
later.
I think everything's meth.
Yeah, Lawrence is just all meth.
No,
Dope
meth.
Yeah.
Tell us about the longest you stayed awake. You have a good story about that.
Because I was a dope fiend. And I went to prison behind dope, and I kind of started leaving the dope alone after a couple prison stints. I just thought the habits were just too much to keep up with. And I like to go out and smoke weed, and I hadn't been out of prison that long, and a bunch of my friends from where I come from all sold coke. So I used to go out and do coke, and these guys would be able to bring a couple bindles with them, go to a bar, and then they pop into the bathroom, do a whap, and come back out and socialize. Well, I knew I was
Oh, I
different
hate
kind of
those
early
guys.
on.
Yeah, the worst.
I'd get the bindle, and I'd go to the bathroom, and I'd be in the bathroom the whole fucking night. They'd be
Yes.
looking for me. The only time
Yes.
I'd come out is to ask somebody for the whole bindle and take it back in the bathroom. So I'm in there washing my face and hands in and out of the stall for like 4 hours, bro.
Yeah.
And I go, man, it affects me differently. But I had maybe tried speed a couple times in my life, and it didn't do anything at all for me.
Really?
Line, nothing. I felt nothing. And so I showed up at some girl's house at about 6 in the morning. Had done coke all night, and I had to be at work at 9. So I show up at her house, and I'm like, set the alarm for 8. I'm gonna get 2 hours worth of sleep. But I'd already been up like a whole day.
Are you doing sheet karate and shit? Like
No. I hit it and I was out, dude. She's waking me up, which seemed like 5 minutes later. And I lifted my head and she was like, you got to get ready to go to work. You told me to wake you up. And I looked around. I couldn't lose this job. I was on parole. And I'm like, I said to myself, there's no fucking way that I can go to work right now. And I didn't know that she was a full-time tweaker. She kind of, I never caught on to that.
She just happened to be up
Didn't really
at
eat
6
much. She
a.m.
was always up. Yeah. So I didn't put 2 and 2 together. So I see her reaching into like her little, over like the closet door, they have those things that fit all the shoes. She's like reaching in there and she goes, I'm going to give you something that's going to help you to get to work. And I'm like, what is she talking about? And I see her bust out this little baggie and she's chopping up this tiny little fucking line. And I'm like, what is that? And she goes, it's speed. And then I'm like, that shit doesn't do anything for me. Doesn't do anything for me. She's like, this will, I promise. And I
She
go
said,
over
this
to her
is
and
from San
she's got
Bernardino. This will.
Oh yeah, she's like, this will, and I'm not convinced. I'm not a believer yet. And she has this little bag, and I snatch the bag out of her hand, and I dump the whole thing out. I figure, I need a fucking real line. She's like, no, this isn't Coke. This isn't like Coke. You can't do that much. Just shut up and bust that line up. And she makes me like a decent sized line, and I do it. And I kind of lean back on the bed, and I'm sitting there for a couple minutes, and I'm like, I told you that this shit doesn't do anything, and I felt lousy. But somehow, I got up to go to the shower, right? And I'm in the shower, and somewhere in that shower that I was having, all of a sudden I was like, I don't even feel hungover. I feel like, what the fuck's going on? I go, bring me a beer. She brings me a beer. I'm kind of half in the shower, getting out, I'm fucking shaving, and about 10 minutes into it, I feel fucking great. I no longer feel tired, hungover, nothing, right?
She wasn't lying.
I go to work. And at work, I have like the best day at work, man. Like everything's working perfect, man. I feel like $1 million, right? Now, I'm not driving. I'm pro. I don't even have a car yet. So I'm like, hey, and I hit her on the phone, and I'm like, when you come pick me up from work, make sure you bring more of that shit with you. And she's like, oh yeah, all right, no problem. We're supposed to go see a movie or something. I was working at a pizza place. She shows up, and as soon as she walks in the door, I don't even tell her hello. I go, where's that shit at? Give it to me. Do a line in the bathroom. And I think we were on our way to the movie theater, and somehow we ended up at an adult bookstore. Got toys, pornos.
Hey, Reno there?
Yeah.
I was working the register.
Yeah. And I'm like feeling like a little bit extra horny. I don't know what that's from. I'm like, this is all new to me, bro. And we end up getting back to the pattern. This is now day 2, right? And we start fucking around. We're making movies. We're watching movies. We're doing all this funky shit. I'm fucking hard as a rock, dude. Like a fucking
Like Chinese
porn star.
arithmetic.
Yeah, bro. Man, I'm
yeah.
like, we're doing all this shit. And we're just going to town, man. I'm like this Olympic porn star in my own head, right? Fucking nothing could stop me. We're fucking for hours. The mattress is like soaked with water, sweat, bro. And at maybe after all this shit, must be like 5 in the morning. I look over the clock. I'm like, how have we been doing this for this long? And at that moment, I busted an Olympic-sized nut.
There we go.
Blew my
Master
mind.
nut, that's
I'm
what it's
telling
about.
you, man, it blew my mind. And we stayed up after that, and it was like the 3rd day, things started getting weird, and I really, really liked how things were getting. I was kind of like seeing things that weren't really there, and I couldn't get out from in front of the porn and doing shit, and it was like this weird world that I was in. And again, I tried to replicate what had happened. It was like somehow the meth and the sex had created this thing for me. Like that was my, some people tear apart their cars or work on shit, and my thing was like porn and like fucking around. Like, so
My thing too.
I ended up staying for up for another 3 or 4 days, and she was like, "You've got to eat, you got to sleep," and I'm getting like emaciated, but I don't want to sleep. I want to stay up. I want to do more, and that was the first venture, and I think I passed out and for a day or two, and I started up again, and it led me to these. I was up for. I think I was up for. I maybe slept a couple times in like a 30-day period. There were a couple nights I slept, but I had stayed up for like 10, 12 days at a time, and just collapse somewhere, and I wake up and do it again, and I did that. And the sad part is that I spent like 15 years trying to fucking recreate that
one night.
That one night.
Never ever
one
happened
night.
again, man. Never ever happened again. It was
tried
like
to.
just the right amount and just like everything, like the stars aligned. But I chased, and it's kind of like the funny thing about this fucking thing that we have. You want to recreate it, you just can't, man. And so I spent a long time, but yeah, I wasn't doing tweak and at least staying up. 5 days it starts to get good.
Yeah.
For me, I need to be up 4 to 5 days, and then I like that whole like
We
6
call that
to
a
10.
Yahtzee in Covina.
Yeah, man. It's just fucking any crazy shit, bro. Running out of the house thinking there's people in the house and fucking doing perimeter checks with a 9mm in my boxers at fucking 5 in the morning. And neighbors looking at me like I'm
And
nuts.
that was fun. You were having fun.
I was doing what I had to
I mean,
do.
it sounds fun.
It's
You know what I
turned
do?
into where it's just all par for the course because you're trying to chase that experience. You know what I mean? And it all comes with it, the fucking paranoia and the weird shit and the hallucinations and stuff. And you make it out of the woods. Someone rescues you. Some woman who's like, come in here and
Somebody
puts
looks
you
like a woman.
in a safe. Hey, I like to party too.
And I methed out when all those fucking adult bookstores were still open in Hollywood and shit. I spent 2 days in one of those places. People wasn't aware. People looking at me like I was crazy, bro. Like they'd never even seen anything like that. But yeah, and I was kind of like I looked down on like tweakers. Me growing up, dudes that did meth were like white biker dudes,
Yeah.
Mexicans and cholos did heroin, And so somehow I crossed this line, and that just became my thing, man,
Yeah.
Up for 10 days and then come down on some black for a couple days and then go at it again. And yeah, it was rough, man.
Wait, so in those porn stores, you could stay there like 2 days in a row nonstop?
Oh yeah, as long as you keep buying quarters, as long as you keep on getting $1 bills, I mean, stay there forever.
They're open there and they know what's going on and they're cool.
They know. Oh, they know what's going
know.
on. They know
They
exactly
know.
what's going on.
Exists
All
right
sorts
now?
of
As long as
shit
you
going
keep
on.
buying tokens.
Yeah.
Hey man, token me out.
Buying
That's fucking
tokens,
awesome.
then they have like the viewer where you can watch the whole movie for like $7.
And you pick
Crazy
like the
shit,
four,
man.
like if you ain't got nowhere to go, you pick the 4-hour one and shit.
Yeah, exactly, man. So it's pretty sad when you're fucking,
It's funny if you pick one in a good neighborhood. Like there used to be one in like Studio City over. You're like, oh, okay, this one's all right. You know what I mean? But
Cops
then
probably
there's
aren't going to
some
walk
grimy
through
ones,
here.
too.
Yeah.
Are there
So
multiple are there multiple boots?
yeah.
So you see the homies he's right next to you possibly.
Everybody-
Homies,
They're not all in the same fucking
yeah.
booth. Like,
One booth, and one booth,
circle jerk and shit.
Straight up.
A lot of weird shit. A lot of weird
Wow,
shit.
That's a miracle. They aren't around anymore right now.
Yeah,
they
that go fast shit just made it just weird. I don't know, man. But yeah, a lot of that. Especially before that, it was really more about just shooting drugs. And I was thinking, while I was coming up here, and I had told you a story once about, man, I was in Corcoran, and we weren't in a shoe program, we were in the hole.
Yeah.
And then we had come out of the hole and we were in a CTQ, which is a confined to quarter. So before they let you out onto a yard, they want to find out who you are, if you have any
That's the
enemies.
one with
all
all
that
the
shit.
dead vegetation and shit.
Right, yeah, you got to be there for fucking, 5 days. You got to be on
I hate that fucking
CTQ.
place,
And
yeah.
I'm in this cell with, I got to leave his name out of it.
Yeah.
And we get shot a big bag, a big piece of black. And we're like, all right, and he's got this fucking outfit, and we're waiting for them to do the last count. And we got this shit cooked up. He's got this outfit, and he breaks the fucking rig while we're in the middle of drawing up, right? And we don't want to snort any. We want to shoot some dope, And he had some tweak. So he's like, we're going to have to figure this out. And I think somebody has a guitar string on the next tier up. And And we spent like 11 hours fucking trying to figure out how to like melt down and break off a guitar string and replace the needle on this fucking binky that we made, this little outfit. And just crazy stories to get high. Got high. We ended up doing it, man. Melting a plastic bag.
Here we go.
Got suction and shot a little air, but we got off.
I had my cellie at Old Folsom. I remember he was there was some dope on the yard and shit. And that's the dude I told you. They gave him like fucking 10 TB tests. They not because it came up hot. They just kept giving it. I was like, you got to quit getting that shit, man. They're gonna give you fucking TB. He'd do one, it'd be clean, and they call him again. There was something weird going on, and so somebody sends a rig down to our cell and shit, and he pulled that. You know how they look. Thing has no fucking numbers on it.
Yeah, dude. It's
the plunger is a piece of a big pen with a fucking eraser on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fucking straight
junkyard rig.
Mad Max shit.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
I remember that.
Crazy shit, man.
It's wild.
Yeah, dope in there.
Yeah, that's heavy.
Reno has a story about a sex shop and a taxi cab, don't you?
Oh fuck.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. I think I told this story on here before, so if it's redundant and a bunch of bullshit, whatever, just humor me. So I had I was just in it, man. I was in and out of detoxes and treatment centers, and I was running around trapping in the valley, and I had a gorilla-sized heroin habit and a King Kong-sized meth habit. And I had just gotten out of jail, and wherever I was, I got a W-2 for the year that I had worked the year prior. And I took it over to H&R Block, and I got the fucking rapid tax reward thing going on,
H&R
And
Block.
they're like, you're going to get $10,000 back. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I had this card, and I was just waiting for them to load this money to this card. But I was burnt. No one was fronting me anything. My stories and shit were all, I was a mad hustler. So, dude, I got this card. There's 10 grand. Get the fuck out of here. So I ended up having to go where all the big bad gangsters go, to mom's house to fucking sleep on the couch while they wait for this fucking card to get loaded with this money from H&R Block, And I kept waking up in the morning and fucking, dude, I was so in it. I was drinking my mom's box of wine and fucking inhaling the computer cleaner and shit. Just trying to she had Norcos. I was taking as many Norcos as I could to kind of keep even. And then one morning at 6 a.m., the fucking card was loaded. Bam! And so I hoofed it down to some ATM and got as much cash out as I could. And then went and got a bunch of dope and got a room at this Holiday Inn Express in Corona right off the 91, right there where I grew up. Yeah, doing
Good
big
one.
things. And I called it. So out there they don't have cabs like they do in LA. They have these weird local leased cabs, and it's some dude or whatever. So this dude rolls up and he's so I have him take me to get all the essentials to go check into this hotel room and get live for $10,000 worth of fucking getting live. So I already had the dope and everything, had the speed, had the heroin. And so I have him take me by the adult bookstore to get the fucking toys, the essentials. And
What'd you get?
I mean, I can't really remember, but, definitely was a fleshlight in there. Definitely was a thing of lube and, some other. Yeah. I'm a little vintage.
Companionship.
Some mags probably because I'm old school. What I mean? But so anyway, so I go to the hotel, and the dude used to party for sure, right? So he's like, hey, man, if you need anything, here's my number. Just call me. This is my cab. I lease it or whatever. And so I'm like, okay, cool. So I, go get in the mix with all the people I grew up with. I'm running around and shit. And then I need a ride later that evening. So I call the number, and a woman answers. And she's like, oh, yeah, my husband told me you'd be calling. I'll come wherever you're at. And so she shows up, and she's ready to party. She's fucking, she's driving the cab. She's in it to win it. She does a big old issue of heroin and fucking smokes some speed. And she's like, where are we going? What are we doing? You know what I mean? So we're running around, and I'm taking her around all these different deals and different things I'm fucking doing, getting into all this shit. So 3 days later, we're at like a Norm's in Riverside at like fucking 6 a.m. like eating breakfast, and she's like totally fucking nodded out in this plate of pancakes. There's a cop in there and shit, and so I sit on the same side as her, and I'm like holding her up, like hey, like pretending to like talk to her, like she's my girl or something. You know what I mean? And the waitress is like, you guys need to get your shit together over here or whatever. And I'm like, all right. So I pay the bill. We bounce and now I'm driving the cab and shit. So I'm like fucking driving the cab, like driving around or whatever. We end up going back to the spot and we end up getting busy. And then fucking she bails. And then next thing you know, like a couple of the dudes I grew up with, which were just trouble, you know what I mean? Like just a bunch of wild ass motherfuckers coming up there with like big ass knives and shit to trade me for dope, you know what I mean? Like whatever, they just want to party. So I'm like, because that used to be me. I'm like, come on in, yeah, sure, whatever, And I was doing this thing. I had like gone to a smoke shop and bought this set of nunchucks. And I was like fucking around like Will Ferrell and like in like Old School or whatever that is, where I was answering the door with the nunchucks around my neck and saying like, you don't know how fucking close you just came to getting nunchuck, motherfucker. And just wiling out on people like that. Anyway, so I'm loaded and my buddies are like, you're out of control. All of a sudden there's a call from the front desk. They're like, DHL's here with a package to deliver to you. And I knew it was the cops. I look out the window and they were down there and I ended up going to jail. They raided the room. I mean, I did all the dope, flushed the dope. It was just paraphernalia and fleshlights and everything else there. But yeah. And then I went from Riverside County. LA had a warrant for me for Prop 36. And so I busted up to LA and went through Chino and picked up a bunch of people on the way to LA and got to LA. And I finally got out. And the run didn't end there. I had that card still in my property, and there was a bunch of money on the card. So, and I was talking to my mom and my family the whole time I'm in there. They're like, just come home and go to detox when you get out. Oh, yeah, totally, man. I'm fucking sick of living this way, whatever. And as soon as I got out and hit the gate, like, there was some, like, 8 or 9 dudes in the release tank with me. And there's that Denny's right up the street from LA County, right? Yeah. So this is back when they had like the 2, 4, 6, 8 menu. And I was so hyped to be getting out. I just took the whole fucking tank to Denny's that was getting released because I had that card that had like a couple grand on it. And there's like sheriffs in there like eating and shit. They're like, yeah, what's up? We're fucking free. I said, get whatever you want, bro. Get whatever you want. There was like these like couple of black dudes from like South Central. I'm like, here's some money to get you home and this and that, and having a good old time.
All in paper jumpsuits?
No, we all had like our clothes and shit, whatever. So, but then like I ran into some dude who knew a friend of mine who was in the entertainment industry. And he was like wanting to smoke and shit. And he's like, let's get one of these gypsy cabs and go down to Alvarado. And I'm like, all right, fuck it. So we go to like Alvarado and check into one of those hotels. And this shit ended up getting out of control for like a couple of days. And I ended up completely broke at the Winchell's on Alvarado in Beverly like 2 days later. But
that's the worst.
Yeah, it was fucking
That's
wild.
the worst Winchell's too. Known to man.
It is.
Yeah, that's the
It
methadone.
is.
That's the methadone.
Dude,
Winchell's.
and all them methadone clinic motherfuckers, they don't break off nothing. Like I was smoked. Like I just needed like someone to just give me a fucking Vicodin or something. You know what I mean? And I wasn't getting shit.
Why is it that meth, like, originally when I started staying up on that shit, I would be able to stay up a long time.
Yeah.
And then I remember Cartoon told me, he goes, hey, bro, those windows of the paranoia or psychosis are going to start getting smaller. And I was like, what are you talking about? And sure enough, it went from staying up that long to I'd be up like 4 or 5 days and I'd hear the choppers. I'd be like, all right. And I'd start boarding up shit. And then as I progressed,
I'd start boarding up shit.
And in the beginning, I'm like, I'm going to go get a hotel at the Four Seasons. I had some money,
Yeah.
And then it kind of slowly starts to, dissipate and go down. And I remember that it started getting into like, maybe 2 days I could stay up. And then I would start hearing the shit, and they were coming, and every car was a cop car, and they're following me, and I'm running, and all this crazy shit. Until towards the end, it was as soon as I do a shot, bro.
Yeah.
I would hear the helicopters, and I'd start boarding up shit. And I'd go to a hotel so that I wouldn't flip out in my apartments where I lived. And I'd get to the hotel, and I'd have like big plans of what I was going to do. But as soon as I did the shot, all the windows, I'm stacking all the furniture up against the door. My ears are to all the walls.
Yeah.
I can hear, shh, we're coming in. Shh, we're going to
This is with good meth.
all that. Yeah, man. Like, and
It was psychosis dope. It's like good meth.
right away.
Fuck,
right away. So I would spend these
Lawrence is like
3-4
romancing
days
it.
up.
I wish I had your dope.
3 or 4 days up
Realize, you know.
at a time, and the whole thing was just beyond stressful. And I'm a third striker, so I think they're kicking in the door and they're gonna find the dope, and it was just so stressful. And I'd get into a car or rent a car or whatever I'd be in, and I wasn't even looking in front of me. I'm following everybody behind me.
Almost crashing
Everybody's a
into
cop.
people and shit.
Till finally, towards the end of it, I get like a little motel room on Santa Monica Boulevard by Westwood. I check into this fucking snooty lodge or whatever the fuck it is, and go in. I've got rigs loaded. I'm all ready to go. I do a big shot, and right away, I'm putting the fucking windows, and I'm putting the couch in front of the door, and I'm sketched out. And I spent maybe 24 hours tripping in this room that they were coming in. And the whole time, I'm sweating, waiting for the cops to kick in the door. But 24 hours, I'm waiting for them to kick in the door. I'm sure they're coming. I finally need to go get some cigarettes. And I'm sure that they're out there. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to surrender myself to these motherfuckers. And maybe they'll have a cigarette for me. I bust out the door, and there's nobody there. And I'm in boxers, like walking out the door backwards. Like, okay, back up slowly. There's nobody there, right? I'm by myself. Like, some ladies like lounging by the pool looking at me crazy. I go back inside, and I'm like, nobody's here. And I crush up some dope, and I think that the cops are out there again. But this time I'm certain,
me
right?
too.
I'm certain, but I got to go get some cigarettes. So the dope that's on the table, as I'm walking out, because I think the cops are out there, I scrape all the dope into a cup that has a little bit of coffee in it. And I'm about to open up the door, and I'm like, and I just go ahead and I down this.
Right.
But I didn't realize how much was in there, right? It was like an 8 of meth, right? I didn't know that, in like about that much coffee. And when it goes down, I'm like,
that's the worst flavor ever.
I'm like, fuck, how much was in? Oh, man. And I'm just thinking to myself, fuck, how much was it? Am I going to be okay? And it really went down bad.
Am I
And
gonna
I
be
get into my,
okay?
I fucking close up the door, and I get into, now, I'm in a tank top, covered in tats. I've been up for fucking 4 or 5 days, and I'm driving a white Jaguar with a cream interior. And I drive down to the gas station, which is only 2 blocks away. And as I'm coming towards the gas station, I start getting really hot, real hot. And I roll down all the windows. I turn on the air. It's blowing. And I pull up, and I'm kind of feeling a little bit weird. And as I get out of the car, my leg's doing like the fish. But I somehow pull it off. I go in. I get the cigarettes. I'm trying to pay. And I don't really know what's going on. But as I get into my car, in the Jaguar, I go to put my key in the ignition, and my hand won't stop. I can't get in the ignition. So I have to grab it with the other hand and like put it in the ignition. Start up, roll down the windows, I think the music, if I turn that loud, maybe that'll keep me up. Yeah. And I'm taking these breaths of air, and it feels like my lungs are like massive, bro. I'm taking these huge breaths of air, and I'm just pouring, right? And I go and I pull up, and as I drive out, that's the last thing I remember. Right? Next thing I know, I'm waking up in ICU in fucking in UCLA, and my sister and my ex-wife were standing over me. Some lady pulled up, and there was foam coming out of my mouth. I was laying on the steering wheel. This is what I hear. Cops came. She called the ambulance because she thought I was having an epileptic seizure. They came, cut all my clothes off of me. Didn't find any dope because they didn't have any dope on me. And they rushed me in and induced me into a coma. So I was in a coma for a day. They said that I was going to overheat and die. So they put me into a coma. I came out of this thing, and that's what it looked like. And I wasn't done using, but that's how my using got that paranoid that I would go ahead and just, I'm such a pig that I don't want to throw the dope away. I'm not throwing it away. At least I'm going to do it and get off. But it was that kind of shit, man. It was like the last 5 years of me using meth I was on the run from the cops. And I think about how much damage did I do? Because your body doesn't know if it's real or not. Feels real, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But it really wasn't enjoyable at the end. I would get an hour or two of a high, and then the choppers, and then they're after me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then it
Only
got
on
to
meth?
me, as soon as I did the shot, I'm like, fuck. I dropped the shot and
Were you
started
only
running.
on meth during the whole time?
That time I was, yeah. I
OD'd
just,
straight on meth. That's
Yep.
fucking gnarly, man. I never heard of that in my life.
and you know, I do these giant shots because somebody
That's
told
really
me.
fucking good.
Somebody told me you can't OD on meth. That was the worst information. I got that information in
That's
the
what I
rehab.
heard.
I know.
Like,
I
you
remember
do these
when I
shots. If you OD on meth, you just go to sleep
Yeah,
and you wake
that's
back up. Yeah, right.
But you didn't-
So I would do these monster shots that turned me into like Gumby, you know. Oh, God. And I knew I couldn't OD on it, but sure enough, you drink that shit or you eat it.
Oh,
Yeah, that can do a whole number on
I
you.
used to
man.
drink that shit in coffee every morning.
They never.
Drop a
Hey,
little nugget in coffee.
Yeah, cool. Every morning I would get a fucking big gulp sized coffee. The weirdest thing about this, like, why the fuck you need coffee? Like, I'm like,
Right.
What's that fucking
Chaser.
Covina glass? You know what I mean? Like, you're good to go.
Covina glass.
glass.
I mean, you know
That
how
should be
I
a
normally, I'd
t-shirt.
be, like,
Covina glass.
sweating like a hot dog and shit all day.
Yeah.
I'm wearing like a fucking slingshot and fucking sweaty. People are wearing like North Face jackets. But
And it
Long
didn't taste
shorts.
terrible? Did it taste
it
terrible?
tasted terrible.
I
but
mean,
Yeah.
I tasted
Yeah.
That's when you know it's good.
Yeah.
'Cause, like when I was relapsing during the pandemic, the shitty meth didn't really taste bad. Like I wanted that shit to fuck me up and taste like shit because I knew that was the real. You know what I'm saying? But it never was. Most of the time it was. It was straight psychosis. I never even got the horniness off of it. It's just straight psychosis. You got the benefit. At least you got psychosis and you got horny. You know what I'm saying?
Is that stuff out there?
No, but
even
he
meth?
def-
horny
I mean, like,
psychosis.
it's like, so like
Horny
I heard when you
psychosis.
when, like
Like
with
dick in
the
the hand,
old
you're
meth,
like-
you could actually put like a rock and you put water in it and just instantly dissolved.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, the
yeah.
meth now, you put a rock in there, you put water, only like 5% of it is dissolves. You got to crush it all into whatever it is. So I don't even know what the fuck it is right now. It only makes you horny like 15%.
Only
You know what I'm saying? Like,
15%.
it's like-
That's
it's
no
like-
good.
it's just
That's
not worth-
like just Playboy magazine level.
Yeah.
horniness.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's not even Hustler
That's a
level
Playboy
horniness.
article. That's a Playboy
You know what I
article.
mean?
It's not
Yeah,
even.
totally. That's like a letter from to the editor. Like, fucking, you know what I mean?
Let's give it up for Big Love.
Yeah.
Right
yeah.
on.
Hey, so anybody out there, like, we have Tyler the homie up here. If you have any questions, seriously, just raise your hand and he'll actively look out for you while we're talking. You can ask any of the guests any questions. You know what I'm saying? So,
King-
like, yeah.
Kingsley and Minerva, you want to come up?
Yeah, Kingsley Minerva, let's get up here.
Woo, all right,
Right
yeah.
on.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm climbing up the stage. Word.
Yeah, no, he said something that resonated with me too when he said I was such a pig, I would never throw it away. Like, I never threw any dope away, like, no bullshit. I remember, like, checking into Tarzana Treatment Center and them finding, like, a loaded pipe in one of my shoes. And I still think about that bowl of speed to this day. I was like, let me just take a couple hits off that thing. He's like, fuck that. I'm all pissed off.
How are we gonna follow these stories?
Oh, you got some stories. So it's going to be all good. What's up, Kingsley? What's up, Minerva?
What's up?
Anyone ever listen to our episode out there?
Yes.
Oh, man,
Yes.
that's crazy, right? Yeah.
That's real deal.
Man. She
Real
actually
deal.
flew in from Tennessee to come here, so
Wow.
it's really a pleasure for
I did
having her
that.
here.
Dedication. We had a few guests fly out.
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know, but
and
Tennessee's.
mine.
We have Norm coming too.
Norm? Yeah.
Norm, you back there, homie? Oh
That's right. Yeah.
yeah.
Norm.
Yeah, we got
Hell
Baltimore,
yeah.
we got
See you,
Oregon,
but it's
we
all
got
good. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. Sick, dude.
Oh
So
man.
it's, what's
Norm, the sophisticated dope fiend.
Hey, tell that story about smoking the crack in the bathroom when you guys met.
Which time?
The one inside of the.
Wait, no, when you and Minerva met, right?
Yeah, when you and Minerva met, yeah.
Oh, our fortuitous meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that
our
one.
first encounter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was an art show downtown, and was I sober already? But anyway, I was in the program. My sponsor's here, by the way, tonight. Accidentally.
Shout out to Minerva's sponsor.
Yeah, so we were at this AA art show, and we were setting up, the show with my boyfriend back then, who was an artist in the thing, and then I had to use the bathroom, and so I waited outside this freaking bathroom forever, and I was like, fuck, somebody's doing drugs in there, and I need to fucking pee, and I was just like banging at the door, and I was like, I need to pee, and then finally the door opens, and this girl comes out and blows crack smoke right into my eyes.
She pissed me off. I was busy in there.
And then I looked at her and I was like, and then she goes, what? And then, like, I see her at, like, a meeting a couple of days later. And I'm like, oh, my
Couple
God,
days.
it's that girl. Fuck. So that's how we met.
That's
And
how
then
we
she
met.
asked sponsorship.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, months later, when I was like coming off of that run,
She was always coming off of a run.
but I was lit most of the time for like 26 years, like in the rooms.
Yeah. So
uh,
anyway, my a friend of mine, it was like the Friday night meeting in New Hope, and it came up to me, and I was like, do you have sponsees? And I was like, you know what? I don't, but I need one because, you know, I felt guilty about it. And so she was like, oh, you gotta meet this girl. And so she takes me to the literature table, and I see her, and I was like, fuck.
She's like, what up?
But yeah, we ended up working together.
Yeah, we ended up working together, and
And we're like
And
best friends now.
yeah, soul
That's incredible.
sisters. Yeah, we went on some crazy. You went on some crazy adventures with me. I couldn't stay clean. Like I'd relapse and wouldn't call, and she'd like break into my house and jump over the balcony, and I'd be all gacked out, like cleaning the grout. In the
Were you
fucking
cleaning the
bathroom.
ground naked or something?
I was always naked.
Just like Reno.
Yeah, that event, like, so I was, you know, I was talking to her, and she, because when I sponsored her, like, she would call me all the time and come over and like work the steps, and like we were really good, and then she just stops calling me, and I was like, okay, she's using it again, whatever. And then I told her I was going to bring her some rapeseed oil. And then she didn't answer her door, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna jump over her balcony because the ski
Because
door
you
was
knew how
open."
much she wanted that grapeseed oil. How important that grapeseed
It's an
oil
important
was.
ingredient.
And
Essential
so she
oil.
was like, I went in there, like she was scrubbing her bathroom floor. She was all tweaked out, and I was just like, okay. And then she was like, "Do you want to hear all about Tennessee Williams?" So she just went on about how she was reading Tennessee Williams.
Yeah, you're like entertained. You're like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, we talked, and
For hours, I talked.
About
Yeah.
Tennessee Williams on meth?
Yeah.
yeah, and about her art.
That's
That's
So
one
that's
I've
nice.
never fucking heard, yeah.
I talked about everything. I was the girl that everyone was like, shut up.
What's great about you, Kingsley, is you keep coming back, and I relate to that. You
Yeah.
always came back.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he was pretty bad, right, Keith? He gave you that, like, the dissonant stare.
Oh,
like,
she was, yeah, she would like look
You
through
thought-
you. It was fucking wild. I was like, she would talk to you and be looking in your eyes, but you could see she couldn't fucking see anything. You know what I mean? Like, like no humanity. Like, and her pupils were as big as fucking nickels. Like, you're like, fuck, I might get sawed in half by these motherfuckers. They're dilated. Like,
No, but there's no better place for somebody in that state than a meeting. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Sure,
Like,
yeah. I've been in
you know.
meetings psychosis, and I mean, I get it. That's why I relate to you so much.
Yeah.
she did it well. Like years ago. Well, Mike used to be a member of the Church of the Crystal Methodist, and according to him, it was successful until. Do you want to tell these guys about your Christmas?
Oh yeah, the Christmas gifts.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, you get some good ideas. And I had, you know, it had been I had come up on the East Coast, and you know, there just wasn't really much crystal meth there, or at least I didn't, you know, I was too busy doing coke to notice, and I wound up stumbling into it in New York. Anyway, I come out here, and then I'm living with a bunch of guys who are just like, oh yeah, no, we're all doing that. That's what's going on.
It's like a whole new world.
Whole beginning.
fucking-
And I didn't have long in country, but it was an intense deployment. Let's just put it that way. And very shortly after that, I remember a friend of ours coming down to kind of check on me, and I had been up for a couple of days, and I was working on some Christmas presents from my parents.
Oh, fuck.
And I'd gotten, and there was an art director.
He's not a woodworker, by the way. Right?
No. And there was an art director who lived in the house at one point, I don't know, and his room always had a lock on it. So that's always a good sign when it's locked on the outside. And I just started getting into all the tools and all the stuff and the glue and everything else. And I just remember a couple pals came in and checked on me, and then 24 hours later came back, and I was just still on the same file of facts. just taking this thing apart, putting welding steel into it and everything else.
Shit.
And I presented these gifts to my friends.
And your parents, and your fucking parents.
And I'm about to, no. That was really when it got good. They helped me cull down the collection.
Oh,
Just
shit.
something that wouldn't get me immediately kicked out onto the street. My mother saw me when I got off the plane. She was like, "You look like a fucking homeless person." I'm like, "You have no idea. I am in fact without a home, and I have some really good gifts for you. So you'll see that I've been busy." And so I just handing your dad a file of facts. It's got some sort of medal on it and some other thing you drew and an inscription and just a look on their face when they're like, "We paid for an Ivy League education, and it seems like we're getting our money's worth, right, Joan? Right? This seems good."
Joan.
That seems good, right? Okay, you just set that under the tree and we'll talk about it after dinner. That'll be good.
That's amazing. Tell us about your best crafting thing, Kingsley.
My best crafty thing?
Fuck, you have so many crafting things.
Man, on your Instagram, like you have a meth bong, right? On the bottom picture at the end, I noticed that.
I meant
Obviously,
to delete that. It's still.
it's so cool. It's so artistic, though. It's so cute and artistic.
How I've
Hey,
documented
Lawrence on the
everything.
deep dive.
I scrolled all the way down. It was like 2004. Yeah.
Zooming in and shit.
Pinch that shit. Like,
I don't know. I was an underground girl. Like that's a good craft. I swore that we were gonna have some kind of Armageddon or something. So I decided that I was gonna find a way out of the city, underneath the city. So I spent 3 years mapping 21 miles of tunnels underneath LA out. Painting to lead me through all the tunnels so I'd know which way to go. I graffitied the third step prayer.
No way.
Hi.
Yeah,
Wow.
on one side, and then on the other side of the wall that I'm supposed to go down, I rolled out I bet I could fuck the world and make it come hard. So
You said you spent a couple of days straight in those tunnels under the ground, right?
oh yeah, days. Yeah, days.
Wait,
under there.
where did you enter these tunnels, from the LA River or something?
Yeah,
or?
my entry point was La Cienega and Jefferson.
Oh, wow. Damn.
is there
But
actually a hole teenage there's
It's like the wash and shit.
Yeah,
wash. Oh,
you
wow.
go down the wash and then go through all the drain tunnels. I mean, it never occurred to me that they could flush the tunnels while I was in there, and whoosh.
Were you hanging onto the wall?
Any
it
animals?
never happened, but I didn't think about it till later. I was like, that could have been a bad story.
So wait, you're down there for 3 days at a time, or a couple times you were down there for a long
Yeah,
time?
as long as the dope lasted.
I was just gonna say,
Oh,
so you were
yeah.
doing dope while you're down there.
Yeah.
Were you wearing Dickies coveralls and a headlight and shit?
Nah, I was dirty. I was probably wearing Vans and some booty shorts and a white tank top, making friends with raccoons, stashing survival stuff along the way.
It's so wild what that shit does to our brains. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's true. What Lucky was saying. His friend said that the window of psychosis gets smaller and smaller, and it's true. I don't know what it does. It depletes your central nervous system or something. But you just pretty soon you just kind of cross over an invisible line where it's just literally I'm fucked. As soon as I do the shit, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm super grateful. It sounds wacky, but I'm super grateful that opiates came into my life, because it's
Shout out
I
to
literally-
opiates.
Zero for Pedro and black tar heroin, and meeting me at the corner of Valley Heart and Fulton every morning.
Ooh, damn.
But no, I mean seriously, that shit would calm you down. And I used to be big into shooting meth too, and this woman that I was friends with in the Valley that kind of taught me the ropes on heroin, she was I would show up after being all twacked out from shooting speed. She would take me and make me look at myself in the mirror. And she smoked speed all day and shit. She's like, look at yourself. You can't shoot that shit. You can't shoot that shit. Look what it does to you. And I'm like, she's right. And that was the only thing I was ever able to stop doing, was actually shooting speed, just because of how you know what I mean? But copious amounts of heroin and, pookie spinning and shit. It's not like there was any sort of real self-control there, but,
Turn it, don't burn it.
Yeah.
Hey,
And dude-
unless you're in Norco, them motherfuckers just lay the flame on that motherfucker. You're out in the middle of these cow fields and shit.
Wow.
I was like, I want to talk. A friend of mine, Anthony's passed away a few years ago, but Jimmy Rich was like, rest in peace. He was the best dude, but he got sent to this rehab in the high desert called U-Turn for Christ.
Oh.
You know, and he'd been staying awake like 9
Wait,
months.
you've been there?
You know about out there?
Wow.
Did
we
you
got
go
someone
there?
who's been to U-Turn for Christ.
Oh my God.
Nice. Congratulations.
Damn.
Wow.
That's
I
cool.
think. But he would like.
I knew a guy from Corona that was a hard case that went to U-Turn for Christ and became a house painter. So over the course of like the years that I've known him, he was either in church and painting houses or in the fucking garages in Corona just turning the pipe. Like
Jimmy
there
is-
was no in between.
I think I told this, but Jimmy was like they would rent a little garage behind a house and they were cooking crank back there, but you had to go in the middle of the night, and come out because the guy's wife didn't know what was going on. And Jimmy decided to fall asleep there and then clean up the lab in the morning. But he had scratched his balls and he had phosphorus on his fingers, so his balls started burning.
Ouch.
So he ran from the garage. He didn't know what to do. There was nothing in the garage, and he ran into the house. Like, the dude's wife's there. She's never seen him before.
Yeah,
She's
and the whole
screaming.
thing, like for people in the audience, when you're fucking with those chemicals, you can't just put water on it. You have to get a chemical that deactivates that fucking chemical that you just, right? Am I right?
Yeah, but he would he would always have like baking soda and weird shit in his car, but his car wasn't there. He was supposed to get up and be quiet and clean the lab. But
Right.
when his balls, because the red phosphorus is fucking hot, man. It's immediately hot.
Yeah.
And he ran through the back door into the kitchen, and the ladies there with like one of her kids starts screaming, and Jimmy just swings open the fucking fridge door and grabs like this zesty Italian dressing and starts spraying it down his pants on his balls to neutralize the burn, which is what got him. He ended up at U-Turn for Christ, and then the lady had asked him. She needed a field.
She
road
said,
to
"Are you
fill."
going to do a U-turn for Christ?" And he said, "No." He said, "I'll do a left, maybe a right, but no fucking U-turn."
Basically, yeah. But then he had more ball problems up there because he was like,
More ball problems?
yeah, because he was rototilling this field up there, like singing hymns and shit like that. He was about it, like super.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
born
yeah.
again. But he heard something under the rototiller, and when he pulled it up, he just felt something hit his balls, and when he stood up, a piece of baling wire had shot out and threw his ball into his leg like a shish kebab.
God damn.
Shish kebab, but shish kebab, I guess.
Shish kebab.
Yeah. And from there, he became a tree trimmer with some other tweaker up there in the desert. And,
Tree trimmer's a good hustle if you're a tweaker. You can fucking
Yeah.
work every day.
Yeah. But
I did
rest in
stucco
peace.
for a couple of weeks with some dude from my hometown. That was fucking rough.
On speed, you were doing
Yeah,
stucco?
on speed, fucking. He's like this dude Dale, this old wood that had like
Dale from Riverside?
Yeah, Dale from Corona? No. Randy from Riverside? No. Get out of here. But he was he did stucco, and as long as I had known him, he just had a house with a garage, and everyone fucking did drugs there. And he had these two sons that were out of fucking control. One of the sons, we called him Gillette because he like shaved his face like all high on speed. Because he was kind of hairy, and like tried to make his
Line
shit
it up?
Yeah, scabs, and it looked all weird and shit. But anyway, so he's like, "Hey, I got work up in Phelan, which is up by Victorville,
Yeah.
way up in the fucking desert. We're gonna do a house in the morning." He's like, "If you want to work, I'll pay you $150." This was a long time ago. That was a lot of money. And I went out there high on speed, dude, and so high. He's all covered up and shit, because that cement from stucco gets in your skin, and I'm up there, just like
Shirtless.
filling the thing, taking my shirt off, wetting myself down, and all the stuff sticking to me, and I came out of there fucking miserable, like poisoned, you know what I mean, from the shit. It's brutal.
Kingsley, I wanted to ask you in your episode, who taught you how to cook meth?
I did.
Really?
Self-taught.
I mean, how do you self-teach?
I got all gacked out and I started going into old, rare, and used bookstores and buying organic chemistry books and all kinds of stuff. And then I was just up for days reading. And then
So you're a genius. That's basically what you're saying.
no, I was just high.
Well, yeah, meth you can do. That's amazing. God, you made really good dope, right?
I did.
Yeah.
I did make good dope.
Yeah, you made it. You made it with those gangsters, right?
I did.
Yeah.
That was an accident. I wasn't trying to cook to sell or anything. It's just, you know, being a woman out there and stuff. It's, you know, it's like there was a period of time when, you know, it was like crank, you know, it was like, it was crank. It wasn't like meth yet. And it switched over in like, you know, like around 97, and it started like turning into like crystal. And there was like a dry spot, and you couldn't get shit. And so, you know, like I'd go to pick up and dudes were like, well, you want it? Like, you're going to suck a dick. And I was like, the fuck, I'm going to suck your dick. Like, I'm going to make it myself. So I did.
That's right. Go girl.
You know? I mean, I ended up sucking lots of dicks later.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah. There we-
Same. Same.
I mean, I'm not trying to pretend or anything.
yeah, for
Her
sure.
daughter's in the audience.
Oh, shoot, Julia,
Julia,
I'm so
your
sorry.
daughter- Oh, no.
Like you didn't know.
Yeah, like you didn't know, for sure. For sure. Awesome. So, like in the end, though, like you were cooking all that dope. I remember the story. You said you washed it for them, and they thought you were like a police officer or something like that.
No, they didn't think I was a police officer. Oh, I don't know. They were. I just. So I met some transient dude like in the Rite Aid up on Vermont. Like it was like, you know, we were stashing ephedrine, you know, Sudafeds, like you know, and I was stashing them in boxes, so because you could only buy so much at a time. So I was putting them in boxes and of like cereal and other things, and then like going and buying those later on another shift, so I could get all the, you know, pills that I needed to pull. And I met this transient dude in the Rite Aid, and I saw him putting stuff in a mothball box, and I was like, I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so we became friends, but he was like, so he was like going and breaking into houses like that were, I mean, like, I don't know what, they were like filled with everything, and like nobody lived there. I think they were probably like in probate. So anyway, he started taking me to like case these houses, you know, and like go in these houses and break in these houses. So I started stealing everything, and, you know, and all the old craftsmen, how I steal the light fixtures, the big light, like, you know, knobs
Copper
in the
wire
bathroom,
and all
like
that stuff.
anything,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, and sell it everywhere. And so I had a lot of antiques and things, and some girl was like, you know, fucking some, you know, banger, and she was like, you know what, like, this dude, he's like, he's gonna want your grandfather clock and like some of the other things, like, I just know it, you gotta come down there. So I went down there with, you know, a whole truck full of like everything and a grandfather clock.
Grandfather clock. How many times did that thing get moved?
From the time I stole it to the time I dumped it, I was quick.
Motel rooms and shit.
Yeah. So we were down there, and, you know, I was sitting there, and I had no idea they had a lab in the back, and like some dude like comes up, and he has a whole like sheet of like bad shit, and I just like opened my mouth, and I was like, you know what, if you do this and that, you know, you can want, and they like all of a sudden a bunch of guns were like pulled on me, and they're like, bitch, what the fuck do you know? And I was like, I don't know. So anyway, they pulled me into the lab, and they were like, well, show us what you know. So I cleaned it, and then that's what happened. I started batching.
It's very impressive.
Yeah.
They just put the crown right on your head as soon as that batch got clean. They're like,
It's amazing.
The grandfather clock reminded me of one. So I was living in this house that I lived in right before I got sober, and then I lived in it again right after I got sober. I kind of moved back in there because I got kicked out of sober living for getting a dog. That I just showed up with a dog one day. I was like, you know what I need? I got 6 months sober. I'm gonna get a husky puppy. Well, okay, I wanted to get a Pomsky, you know, which is like it's a Pomeranian husky.
oh, that sounds dope.
And I was
yeah.
at CRLA. I was still at, I was at the West Adams house, right?
Okay.
Yeah, Pomsky. They're cool, but I didn't know how much they were. So I look it up, and they're like $3,000, at the low end. And I was like, I can't afford that. But the closest I could get is a husky puppy, and it's just as cute and whatever, So I get a husky puppy. No real, I don't know how to, I can't take care of myself. I'm in sober living. I think I'm making, what was the going rate? What would you make?
$150 a week.
I'm making $150 a week, and my best thinking is I'm gonna get a husky puppy, on Craigslist.
And a tattoo.
On Craigslist. Oh yeah, I think I already got like 1 or 2 tattoos. Good tattoos at this point,
Yeah.
We would get the free ones at the houses, but I got like some good ones. And I get the husky, and I bring it, and they're like, you cannot have a dog here. And I was like, what? This fool just had a dog here. And they were like, well, he's not here anymore, And they're like, it's either you or the dog, like one of you has got to go. And I was like, well, fuck that. Guess I'm going, you know. And I took the dog and I went back to that same house that literally Chris Collins pulled me out of when he got me into treatment. And I was like, hey, like, what's up? You know, I'm not gonna say the woman's name, but I was like, hey, maybe. I was like, can I stay here for a little bit? Oh, and I just got my friend that was living there into treatment, so I knew there was an open room there, and I knew there was a bunch of junkies and tweakers that would come around. And I was like, wait, I'm like, maybe could I? I was like, I'll stay and I'll like keep, you know, I'll kick everybody out. I'll make sure nobody comes around. And they will come around. And I was kind of like Reno, but sans nunchucks. You know, I'd have a bat and shit. And I'd come out, motherfuckers, don't come around here. You know, like, see, people would be like tweaking, hiding out in the backyard. You know, we had a shed full of bicycles that, like, anytime somebody had a bicycle, bring it to us. We give you a teener for it. Like, if it's a $900 bike, it don't matter what, you know. There's like
Teener was a going rate.
Teener, going rate for anything, you know. And so we had a shed just filled of bicycles, like none of them functioning. But we had a grandfather clock in there, and inside of this grandfather clock, it's where we would put the Narcan. And this is before, like, there was nasal Narcan, so it was injectable. So you had the little vials, and then you would have
It's like Pulp Fiction and shit.
Yeah, but don't get it twisted. You don't have to go in the heart. That's just stupid. That's not like, you know.
It's
That's
like you
really,
got to stab him 3
yeah,
times.
yeah. Don't listen to Reno. Yeah, that's not how it works. So we had it inside the grandfather clock. You would open it up, and then in there would be the little vials and the intermuscular needles. And anytime somebody would fall out, we'd be like, you know what time it is, you know, and we know exactly where to run and grab it.
Exactly,
You know,
literally.
yeah, and I'm like, I wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for, you know what time it is. You know, I've been Narcaned a few times. You got a question?
No shit.
Hey, yeah, you give the mic.
Yeah, where'd he go?
Tyler, where you at?
Tyler, of course, Tyler just left.
Oh shit,
Fuck.
is there a mic there?
Yeah, we got a mic.
Yeah.
Whew.
It's like Donahue and shit.
Yeah, right.
Oh, you got a question?
Hey, yo.
Can we turn that mic on? The crowd mic?
Is there a button to
is.
press?
I got it.
Oh,
Thank you.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Renee.
Hey,
Yeah,
oh, Renee.
what's up,
What's up,
Renee?
Renee? Oh, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming by.
Oh,
I
man,
thought that
thank
was
you for
Prince,
having me.
you know?
No.
Long time first
What
time.
happened to the fucking husky?
Oh, man. All right, so I lived there with the dog. Then the girl got out of treatment, you know? So, and I named the dog, I named him Tetsuji, which was after Tetsu, and my friend Mark Obayashi, which was the first dude I got loaded with, the first person that I knew that got sober, the first friend I had that died from this thing that we got, that a few of us here might have, that I have. I can't speak for nobody else. So I named him after him, you know, and it was like this cool, and I didn't realize that you have to, man, this motherfucker had a lot of energy, you know. Huskies are like, it's nonstop. Jesus Christ. So I would walk him 5 miles in the morning and then 5 miles at night, and I'm living in Hollywood, you know, so like there's no, I don't have a car, you know, I'm just walking this dog, and I lived there for 9 months, and then I moved. The girl got out of the sober living and whatever, and I moved into Chris Collins' house. I was like moving around. I had the dog with me, and then my mom was like, "Hey, our friends could watch the dog for you until you get into a spot that's like dog friendly." And I was like, "Oh, cool." So my mom took him to her friend's house, and the guy was like training him. It was all cool, but they never chipped the motherfucker. You know, he was like kind of whatever. Like the guy he thought that like when you chip a dog, he was on some like, on some like weird shit, you know, where
Illuminati
like
shit.
he thought that like if you chip the dog, then they start going all crazy, or like I don't know what he was thinking. You know, he read some weird blog or something, and so we didn't chip the dog, and he was training him, and he comes outside, and the dog, they had a little yard, and he was standing there with the dog, and he's teaching him some commands, and somebody left the gate open, and he comes out, and he looks at the dog. He comes out and he looks at the dog, and the dog looks at him. And the dog fucking looks at the gate, looks at him, looks at the gate, and just fucking bolts. And that was the last we ever seen the dog.
I gotta say something.
Yeah, jump in.
I remember this motherfucking dog. Yo, on Cahuenga.
Yeah.
So I lived on Cahuenga. That fucking
Wait.
It's cracky as fuck.
Let's
But-
welcome Tokes to the stage. Woo!
Folks, yeah.
DJ Tokes.
I thought I was aware until I take walks with this motherfucker, bro. You walk by like an open car lot, and I'm like, there's cars in there, nothing else. And you're like, what up? And people just come out like, and like, it's like roll call, like multiple fucking with you. I was like, what the fuck? There's people like underneath and in between and fuck. And that fucking husky.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking memories, but I respect that because
Yeah.
I thought I knew shit.
Wait, you mean that
He was
people would
walking
come
down
out
the
of nowhere to say
Yo,
hi to
bro,
Danny?
Bro, on Cahuenga, bro, it's an empty parking lot, that pink building that has the gates.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, we're walking. There's nothing. And oh, what up? I used to fucking get down with this motherfucker. I used to smoke with, like, I was like, what the fuck? There's people. Like, coming out of between fucking cars. So, like,
Pay
I
respect
realized
to the
I don't know
Hollywood
shit.
Messiah.
I respect you, man. Like, mad love and shit, but, like, that taught me a whole nother.
Hey, and this is me sober. This is me
Yeah,
getting loaded.
sober
Yeah.
with the fucking husky. I forgot about that fucker.
Yeah.
Beautiful dog.
Beautiful dog.
Right
yeah.
on. All right, bye.
Wherever he's at, respect.
Right on,
Yeah.
Tokes.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, jokes. Awesome.
Let's thank Kingsley and Minerva.
Kingsley
Thanks.
Minerva.
Right on. Kingsley
Yeah,
Minerva.
thank you both. Wait, should we have, since we were talking about Narcan, should we have Narcan Nate come out and do a quick demo for those here, so everybody at home, you know? Because I'm a product of Narcan. You know, my life was saved by Narcan many times.
Same here.
And I got to, yeah, Nate, come on up and do a little demo. And thank you guys so much. And of the keep coming back thing, you know, like how Kingsley came back, at one point, there's this place called the Cafe Tropical. It's in Silver Lake, and I would go there all the time. And I'd go there when I was, shout out. And I would go there when I was sober, and I'd go there when I wasn't. And the owner, Donato, rest in peace, he was the kind of dude, like, he had something, he was just a special human, you know? And he would see me coming in, and he'd be like, Donnie, how are you? You know, and he would bring if I was doing great, whatever, you know, if I wasn't, he would always be like, hey, are you hungry? And he would give me, they had this thing they had a continental breakfast, which was it was a fresh squeezed orange juice, one of those cracky espressos that they used to have that literally was like stronger than the fucking
like
meth
crack,
towards the end of the meth, you know, and a croissant, and he would always give me one of those and hook me up, and I would come there and he'd be like, here, just pay me back whenever you get a chance, pay me back whenever you get a chance, pay me back whenever you get a chance. Yeah, set him down, hell yeah. we got Brandon, yeah. Yeah. And I would come in, you know, and at one point, I don't know if I've ever told this or not. I mean, I've told it, you know, but at one point I was coming home and I just coughed and I got off the bus and I lived a block or two away from there. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna just pop into the bathroom real quick and I'm gonna get a quick little one in, you know. And I remember the bathroom was back before you would have to walk in through where AA or NA or whatever 12 steps. CLA, you know, which is Clutters Anonymous. I learned because I showed up to that on accident once. So whatever, you know, those groups are. So you would have to walk through the meeting to get into there and into the bathroom. And I live 2 blocks away, and I'm like, I'm just gonna get a little high, you know, the famous last words, just a little high, you know. And I pop in there and I do a little, you know, just a little get well, you know, a little shot. And next thing I know, I'm on a fucking stretcher and I'm being pulled out. And it's morning time, you know, and there's a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous going on. Yeah, 8:30 a.m. maybe it's and I'm being pulled out and everyone's looking around and I just got fucking Narcan and I'm being taken into the paramedics, you know, the hospital to get checked out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, you know. And the crazy thing is, that was my second time overdosing there. You know, the first time my friend kicked the door in, shout out Silk, and he fucking actually like Narcan me with the intermuscular Narcan with the little, you know, the vial. And that guy Donato was such an angel, you know, because he told me, he goes, Donnie, he's like, you can come to the cafe, you can come to the meeting. He goes, but please don't come to the bathroom. Yeah, rest in peace, man. He was a really special dude.
How does
All right,
Narcan
so let's
work?
bring out, come on. We got
Narcan Nate.
we got Narcan Nate in the house.
Narcan works. We have
Take
a
a
whole bunch
seat,
of Narcan
stand up,
on site.
whatever. If you stand this way, it's a little better because then they could see you on the camera. So this is Brandon the dummy, and this is Narcan Nate from Oceanside. What's up, man? Welcome.
What's up, Danny?
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Right on.
Hell yeah. So I'll tell you guys a little bit about my story real quick. I'll make this really quick because I don't want to take up too much time. But so I've overdosed twice. The first time was when Opanas came out, the little stop signs, and the guy failed to tell me that they were extended release. So I was doing the Roxy's, little M Block 30s, and I got them, and I was like, well, I'll just take these, and I eat one, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it didn't kick in. So I ate about 4 more, and I'm like, I'm walking down the hill. I'm at my aunt's house, and my family's there. And the next thing I know, it just hit me. I'm like, oh, fuck. And I just hit the ground. And my family didn't call 911. They didn't know what the fuck to do. I don't know how I survived divine intervention, but I woke up 26 hours later. I thought it was the same fucking day. And then I proceeded to threaten to kill them because I wanted to get fucking high again. Because they took my money, my wallet, and my keys. This is what we do.
Yeah.
And yeah,
That's what we do. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, and then so I overdosed again, and the homie Narcan me brought me back. But the main reason I do this is I was in a sober living, and I think this is 2018, and I'm getting high, I relapse, and we're watching March Madness. I go upstairs. I know Charlie just got home, and I know he just went and copped. And I go into the bathroom, and this dude is slumped. I mean, he is fucking out. And Charlie had just got out of prison like, I don't know, 7, 8 months ago. And I'm high, I'm holding. I know he's got some shit on him. And I'm like, I'm walking the fuck away. You know, because I'm like, well, if Charlie lives, what if he goes back to prison? Like, I didn't want that on my conscience. I didn't want to be labeled a snitch either, you know what I mean? I didn't want that on my head. And so I walk around for 2 or 3 minutes with Charlie's life in my hands. And he's getting blue. He's got the death rattle. And
Shit.
yeah, like he was about to die. And so finally I made the decision to call 911. The dispatch didn't know what the fuck to do. I was freaking out, you know. When shit like that happens, you got all these, just the fucking hamster wheel in the head is just going crazy. And I couldn't think straight. And so Charlie lived, and he's sober now. He's been sober for a little bit and doing well. And so that's why I got involved with this, because the sober living didn't have Narcan. The dispatcher didn't know what to do. I had no idea that the Good Samaritan law was around, and a lot of people don't even know what that is.
What is that?
The
Yeah.
Good Samaritan law?
Yes.
So if
Very important. Very important.
Yeah. So if someone overdoses, right, and I'm holding or they're holding and they overdose, and I'm trying to render aid to them, if I call 911, I'm protected, so they can't. What's the word for it? They can't take me to jail.
You have dope on me.
They can't come in there. I witnessed it. They come in and they get the person that's in crisis and they leave everybody alone.
Wow, that's
They
good
do that
information
on
to know.
purpose because so many people were found rolled up in rugs and alleys and shit. You know what I mean? It's like, it's fucking awful, man. I mean, you're talking about, even if there were some bullshit, you're going to do 90 days for being under the influence. It's like, to someone's life, you know what I mean? And too often in that moment, we're so caught up in the disease and so overtaken by our drive to go on and keep using and chasing dope. Fucking pause, call 911. It's the law that you can't get fucked with. They can't fuck with you.
What does Narcan look like? I mean, I've seen it on the meetings. I really want to. Okay, is like something you just like inhale? Could you show us?
Yeah, it's just a nasal spray. So really, all you do. This is a tester, by the way. I had to use this somebody, so this is my tester now. So you would just stick it in the nose like that, and your fingertips are going to be like that at the nose, and you just hit that plunger right there, and you'll hear it kind of make like a sound, and then that means it's administered.
I've heard people like, for instance, homeboy Marlon said he had 3 on you, right? Yeah, 3, right? For sure, yeah. So like sometimes you need more than 1. You need 2 or 3 or 4 because it was right.
Yeah.
1 is not sometimes good enough.
Yeah. So a lot of times, it takes more than 1 dose, and then there's times, I mean, I don't know how many people's experienced someone overdosing, but it's kind of traumatic, someone's life in your hands. So,
Yeah, big time.
So a lot of people, they like get scared, freak out, or whatever, and they're just hitting them with dose after dose after dose.
So we have Narcan in the back.
Yes, there's a lot of Narcan. There's probably, I don't know, 100 doses or so, probably maybe more.
So free. Go back there and grab it.
Yeah, it's all free. The test strips
sure.
are free. The rescue breathing, there's rescue breathing masks back there. Those are free. If you want to make
And you've got the test strips. Tell us what the test strips are for.
So the test strips are for testing for the presence of fentanyl in your bag if anybody's endeavoring in substance use.
Yeah.
So yeah, please go back there and grab them at your leisure. Like, don't be like, if you want to get it, just go back there.
Yeah.
Especially
And they-
the fentanyl strips.
Yeah,
Put
and
the
NATO,
test strip in the bag, and it tells you if there's fentanyl in there.
So you have to dilute your substance, and depending on what substance it is, you have to put a different amount of water in it.
Right.
And you stick the tester in there. You leave it in there. It'll absorb in about 15 seconds and give you a reading. But it's very important that you use the right amount of water, or you could get a false positive or just a bad reading. It could be inconclusive. So it's very important. If you're doing pills, you have to dissolve the whole pill because it's what they call hot spots. So I could break up this side of the pill where they're pressing them, and this side of the pill wouldn't have any fentanyl in it, but this side of the pill does. So you wouldn't get a correct reading.
Fuck, man.
Yeah, interesting. Because little pieces.
Yeah.
Dangerous shit.
Yeah, you can't.
Because like sometimes when I would smoke meth during the pandemic, some made me go to sleep, and some pieces like got me horny, and some pieces got me focused. So like I never really knew what was what, inside of a bag. So like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. They're cutting everything with it. They're cutting. We've heard horror stories of it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what
Putting
it
it in
is.
weed.
Yeah. We had a guy come on. Yeah, we had a guy come on a years two back from Vancouver, Jason, that literally knows somebody that went and they bought it. What was it? They bought a joint, and they came home, smoked the joint, and the joint was laced with it. Remember I was telling you about that?
Yeah, you told me that when we were in Chula Vista.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, thanks for coming up here. And
Yeah,
teaching
dude,
us
thanks
about
so
that.
much.
Really
And yeah, we're
important.
gonna have Nate in the back. He's got Narcan back there. Please, everybody here should leave with the box of Narcan. And if we run out of Narcan, I'll make sure fucking find me after. We'll get you one. And Nate will like. It's you never know when you're gonna have to use it. I've got I've been Narcaned a few times myself. I've gotten the Narcan people. I did demos every Sunday at Community Health Project where I would show people how to use it, and show people how to use it, and show people how to use it, and show people how to use it. And it was like when the situation presented itself, when there was somebody there that had fallen out, I knew exactly what to do. So it's one of those things where, and both of the people that I got Narcan are alive today because of that quick thinking.
Awesome, most definitely.
Cool, dude.
Thank you. Oh, we have a question. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, should we? Oh yeah, we got a question.
Sorry, I just had a
Don't be sorry at all. What's your name?
question. My name's Tara.
Hey, Tara.
Hey, Tara.
Hey, Tara.
I'm here because I lost my fiance to overdose. He was at sober living, and I wanted to touch on that. The sober living didn't have Narcan, and I don't think that's okay. I think there needs to be something. I don't know if you guys have the ability, but the sober livings need to have Narcan.
Yeah.
Because he would have been alive, if they had that. They found him in his room.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Exactly what you were saying, Nate. Like the not having the availability and outsourcing it to people that can actually
Accessibility,
provide it.
yeah, for sure.
Accessibility. So that's
Yeah,
great
they
you're doing
should
this.
have it at sober livings,
Yeah.
of all places. That makes sense.
For sure.
So, yeah, that's all I wanted to.
Thanks, Tara.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Tara.
They should. There's a lot of legislation and stuff that needs to be passed and put into play to support
Yeah.
the recovery industry.
So-
It's a lot of ways they're ill-equipped.
Awesome. So
Yeah, can you speak on that, Nate? You got a.
Yeah. First off, I'm sorry about your loss. For sure, I agree. And I know a lot of places that don't have it. I know, I do this for treatment centers, for detoxes, for people that are experiencing homelessness and poverty. And most people, they just don't know where to get it. They don't know how to access it. If you go to the pharmacy and you don't have insurance, like a kit back there, which has 2 doses in it, is like $120. You know what I mean? But I know right now, as far as treatment center goes, and I'm sure it'll probably carry over into sober livings, but treatment centers have to have a certain amount of Narcan on hand. And then I think like JCO, which is the accreditation, is probably going to start making sure they have enough and it's in date and it's going to be a part of their, when they walk the treatment center, it's going to be a part of that process.
Oh.
What's that? I can, the organization I give it for free. I never charge for it. We're donation based. The Narcan is absolutely free. The test strips are free. If you want to donate, great. If you don't have it, great. I just don't want people to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if you're still connected to the treatment center where that happened, or where they are, but you welcome to take some boxes.
Yeah.
I understand.
We'll give you our numbers. You can call us. We'll do anything we can to help you.
Yeah.
Any of us.
Any of us.
I'll go lodge a fucking box of Narcan right at the guy's forehead.
we
the
have
super glue it.
the
We
house
have
manager
actually
over there.
gang
Rubber
of
band that
too.
shit to a brick.
Yeah, for sure. So thanks, Nate, so much, man.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nate.
Yeah,
Right
Nate,
on,
yeah,
Nate.
thanks a lot. And then Nate's gonna be in the back. So if you guys, what do we got? What do we got back there?
I have fentanyl test strips. I got rescue breathing masks. It's just to make a barrier. If you want to make a barrier between someone, if you don't have one, you can use a bandana or a mask. I've got a ton of Narcan. I have some trash can cut stickers back there that I just randomly had, so you can come pick some of
Nice.
those up. So, and yeah, I can just give you info on what I do as far as Narcan, fentanyl test strips, policy, and stuff like that. And so yeah, or if you want to get involved, I can tell you how to do that.
Cool.
man,
And
for
then
sure.
Tokes had a great question. What does Narcan treat exactly? What is it per? So for people that don't know.
So Narcan, it's an opioid antagonist. Its only job is to go into the body and kick the opioids off the receptors. And so that's its only job. You can use it on your fucking dog, by the way. So if I have a bag and I drop it, my dog eats it, you can stick it in its nose and fucking Narcan it.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Yeah, fucking rad, huh?
And if the dog or the human or whatever is not on opiates, there's absolutely nothing. Like, it's completely harmless.
There's very minimal side effects. You know what I mean? Like, it's 9 times out of 10, nothing's gonna happen to them.
Okay.
I mean, it's good. That's the only thing it treats. You can use it on an infant, a dog, a human. Its only job is to kick opioids off the receptors. If you make a mistake, a lot of times people, it's like I can't remember what it's called, but it's like people that have diabetics. The symptoms present the same as an opioid overdose, and so EMTs or somebody has Narcan that knows what to look for, they might mistake it for an opioid overdose. They'll give them Narcan, but nothing happens.
Oh, cool, man.
Cool.
That's good to know.
Well, yeah. Dude, Nate, thank you so much, man. Yeah, really appreciate you. And he'll be back there next to the merch table. Please take some Narcan home. We got Brandon the dummy. You could even try that, you could even test it out. He'll show you how to do it. Please, please, please take some Narcan home with you. You never know when you'll get a chance to save a life. And talking about saving lives, let's bring out our next two guests.
Nick and Greg, where you guys at? Nick Curtis, Greg.
They're probably outside smoking.
Oh, they're outside smoking.
No.
Two-tone.
Woo. No, here we go.
Oh, yay! They're here. Awesome. Welcome. There you go. Boom. In the building. Thank you. Good to see you again. Good to see you, Greg. Good to see you. And great to see you, Nick. Anyone listen to their episodes?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hell
Yeah, for
Hell
sure.
yeah.
I haven't listened to it yet. I'm not going to lie. I haven't
Oh,
listened
really?
to it.
Dude. Yeah.
I got to listen to it.
How are you, Greg?
I'm all right.
Sick, man. I see you on Instagram dancing. She's tight. Very sexy and suave, finesse.
I know Gregory's been saving a story for us. Let's get into it.
Yeah, for sure.
Have I?
Yeah.
I feel like I've been saving like random images, like they're not like full stories. Like,
What's up with the mattress?
I used to intentionally like overdose a guy so I could use him as a human mattress. But that's the whole story. No, it happened by accident at first. Like, I dosed him at like G.
Was this a trick?
Sorry, I dosed him at G. There we go. Yeah, it was a trick. They're all tricks. And yeah, like he passed out while I was fucking another hooker on him. Like I think the initial goal was DP, but he passed out. And then like halfway through, I was like, "Oh, you're unconscious." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna finish." And so I told him what happened afterwards, and he was like, "That's hot." And so it was like a month and a half of like intentionally getting him to pass out on G, and then like fucking whoever else was on the room on him. It was
Sounds like a Tuesday.
that's
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
That's that.
I love that.
And I can't believe
That's
you're
awesome.
so sweet. In real life, you're so interesting to see your former past life. You're just like evil
I was
meth-like
sweet then
hooker.
too.
It's fucking crazy, dude.
I was accommodating.
Yeah, for sure. What's up with the egg story, man?
The egg store. Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, that guy's.
Well, I mean, he was like it was.
Was he a nice guy?
More or less, yeah.
Yeah.
He was fairly like average. He was some trust fund kid who like
Yeah, I did hear it. Oh, that's the episode.
I'm not sure like
Did he find you on Rentman?
he found me on Rent Boy,
Rent
but
Boy.
like I'm not like to this day I'm curious like where it started. But basically he's like, oh, like before like he asked me in the like on the phone call. He's like, oh, like before we fuck, like I want you to trash my house. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. But like when I got there, it was much more specific, and he's like, I want you to egg my entire apartment before you fuck me. And so he's like, they're in the fridge. So I'm like, I tie him up, and I like get to the fridge and I like open it, and it's like literally like to the brim.
Like he went to a ranch
no
and got
empty
the
space
eggs.
and nothing else in the fridge, just like cartons and cartons of eggs. And I'm like, sweet. So
You fuck it up before you fuck him.
I would tie him up, egg the house, and then fuck him in.
I thought you did it after. That's even better before. That's fucking tight. Yeah,
You'd have to like look at like salmonella as lube.
Wow.
Like it was. Oh.
Was he like, thank you? Like, was he appreciative of that?
Yeah. He was very appreciative.
Wow, that's
and
pretty
submissive.
rad.
Was
Really
he
grateful.
appreciative of the
He was
eggs?
super
Yeah, he
grateful.
was.
Well, then I'm also like, how many people did he run this by? And they were like, no. And then like my stupid ass is like, sure.
Yeah.
I've
You're
been
the
asked
golden
first.
ticket. Yeah, for sure. You're like the lottery. It's amazing.
Didn't you also say that like he would clean it up like very like
Yeah,
savage?
that was just
Yeah.
saying. It's like after I left, he like enjoyed like cleaning up the mess I made.
Oh wow.
It was like a weird like humiliating thing.
Just throwing eggs all over the walls and shit.
It was fun. Yeah, like
Yeah,
I mean,
it
I, like
sounds
it
fun.
was some
Was it
egging
like a
fun in
nice
general.
place?
Decent. He was like a trust fund kid. So yeah, it was his like nice apartment with his nice stuff.
And
Was
would
it
you-
like
would you
East
egg
Olympic or
him?
was it like
I wouldn't egg him. I would like fuck him in the eggshells though. So like it would get on him by the ending.
Copy that. Yeah.
Farm life.
So he didn't do any meth. He wasn't druggy.
Huh? Oh, he was a druggie.
Oh, so so you're doing that at the
Yeah,
same
no,
time?
I mean, yeah,
Oh, wow.
that's not a sober activity.
Wild. Yeah, man. What's up with the shit story?
The one shit story.
Yes, it's the best. I think it's amazing. I love it.
The shit.
It's just sad. No, like well, basically, like if anyone else is like a hooker, like like Scat is much more common than like everyone wants you to shit on them, and so or at least they did when I was doing it, and so
it was very much in vogue at that time?
it was trending, it was viral,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
so like to where like my headline in my like rent boy ad literally said no Scat, no blood, and so there was one guy who basically like coerced me basically after begging enough, and finally I was like, okay, I'll shit on you. But like the issue is I'm like at that point doing a shitload of meth, so like I'm not eating, so I'm not shitting. So like I had to like plan it, and basically I knew I couldn't shit on Q, and I forget where he was, but I had to take the Amtrak, like and so
San Bernardino?
like somewhere like it was like somewhere I had to like.
Ontario, Rialto.
Most of my like the last 20 years is mostly a blackout, but like I remember glimpses, and so I was like, oh, like I got this, and so I would like plan and eat, and then I would like obviously shit, and then I would wrap it in foil and then double bag it, and I would put it in like my hooker backpack, and. I'm really happy I wasn't checked on the train. And like,
Yeah, going to work,
yeah, I mean, it was professional. And so basically, he also like, luckily for me, liked being blindfolded. So I'd like put my boxers over his head or whatever, and then I would like stealthily like grab the like shit out of my bag and like unwrap it while he was on his back, and then just like drop it on him.
Oh. Did you keep it under your armpit to keep it warm, or how'd you?
Yeah.
No, I was worried about it melting, so it was actually more so like I was trying to like not keep it. Yeah.
Oh.
Thon Carey.
The more you know.
Yeah. It's not as glamorous as you'd think.
Yeah. Wow.
Nick, where did
That's
you guys
wild.
go to the bathroom when you lived in that partially built house?
Oh, yeah.
What was it? Like
It was an abandoned house. There was just like two of them on the same property, and I had come across like a toilet seat, and I just had a Homer's bucket. But I put bags in it. I was like, pretty clean about it. Yeah. I'd line the
Very
Homer's bucket
hygienic.
with a bag,
Yeah, cool.
and then put the toilet seat down.
you put the toilet seat on top of the bucket?
Yeah, and then when I was done, I'd hang the toilet seat on the back of my door.
That's
So no one else could sit on your toilet seat.
Almost elegant.
I remember getting loaded in this massive house up by Mikey's, up like in Sherman Oaks, like off Coldwater, up at the top, like Casa Vega. You just go straight up. Huge house up there, no fucking water, no power, or whatever, right? The Ferrari in the driveway. It's just crazy shit. And you would use the bathroom, and you'd have to go take a bucket to the pool in the backyard, which had like a waterfall pool whole thing, and then carry the bucket in the bathroom, and like you pour so much water in the toilet that it actually automatically flushes. Yeah.
Wow. That's cool. Little known fact, not about toilets, but
Our podcast is about shit.
yeah. we had a whole episode all about the doo-doo episode. But I lived in a ditch, not for long. There was a ditch in Hollywood, just like on and off. It wasn't like but there was a ditch, and it was one of the places. I don't know. Chokes is back there. It was one of the places we would walk the dog by, kind of right by your old house, like by that Cahuenga overpass, whatever. And I was talking to, and I met Nick, and whatever, a few years ago, we were talking about Hollywood, and we were talking about some of the people we got loaded with, and our time frames just didn't match up, But we started talking about, and this dude, Danny Boy, came up, rest in peace, And I was like, oh, I lived in Danny Boy's little ditch, you know. And he was like an old school fucking street Hollywood guy that was on the street for 30 years. I mean, you know, like
OG homeless.
OG, yeah. And his brother died of an overdose, and he was like, he somehow, you know, and I couldn't stand him because he would call me and he'd be like, hey, can I get a bag? You know, and I'd be like, yeah, I got you. And he'd show up with like $4.73, you know. And you would just give it to him just so he'd leave you alone, you know. And I was telling him, and I was like, oh yeah, I would stay at Danny Boy's little, because he like, there's this little hill, and you would go down it in a ditch. He had a ditch, yeah, and he ran that ditch.
That was his spot.
Yeah, it was his spot. So and he would let me stay there because I would keep him well or whatever, you know. And I had a house, like not my house, but I had a house that I lived in a block or two away.
But you like
that
the
same
ditch,
house,
kicking it in the ditch was fun.
Yeah, you know, you get into it with somebody, you don't want to see him, you know, so you go to the ditch, you know, like fuck it, why not? I'm gonna go kick it in the streets, you know. And I'm telling Nick, and I'm telling him like, oh, well, you know, Danny Boy, and I'm telling him that I used to stay there, and
I'm right after Danny moved out, I moved in.
he moved in. Yeah.
Hey, it's just like that with the tea farmers. Keep climbing up higher and higher and higher, you know? The ditch to like tea farm, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, wow, I didn't even think of that.
That's amazing.
Wow,
That's
yeah.
great.
Yeah, that was a good spot.
Yeah.
It didn't get burnt
Wait,
that
the tea
often.
farm or the ditch?
The ditch was better.
Wait, what did you say? The tea farm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the tea
Uncle
farm?
Vic's house.
Uncle Vic's
Yeah,
house.
Oh
Yeah.
shit! Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I've never been up there.
Oh man.
Oh, it's great.
4th of July.
I lived there
Yeah,
for
I
a
was
month,
up.
and I relapsed and went to the, you know, up to Altadena and started smoking meth there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there for a long time, yeah.
Lawrence was there and Vic was so mad when you left and didn't say goodbye. You know, he was like, how is he so ungrateful? And he fucking left that motherfucker. You know, he's like, next time, he was like threatening to beat you up. I never told you this, but next time he said he was threatening to beat you up. He was so butthurt about it. He's like, we helped him. We let him stay. He goes, I cooked chili for him.
You know what? But I gave him a £quarter-pound of weed.
You did, yeah.
Shout out to
Yeah,
Jamie. Jamie had a grow house out there, yeah. So he gave me a £quarter-pound.
Shout out to Jamie.
And that made up for it, yeah. That's why we're cool now. You see, he's really happy now, you know, yeah.
Yeah,
He's like, all right, I guess
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
all
You
right.
even told me about that.
Yeah, Lawrence was like, I got to spot him out. I left. And he gone. And I was like, wait, what? I was like, really? He goes, yeah, I got to spot him. Moved out. And that was it. Like, and then Lawrence was just gone. And we're like, wait, what the fuck? And then Vic came into the room and he looked around and like it was in Vic's room, you know, which then
Yeah,
you
the
lived
front
in
one.
after that. Yeah. And he literally looked and he goes, take all the sheets and burn them. We need to get rid of these sheets.
Wow, that's amazing. How is Vic doing?
He's great.
Great.
Oh, the Camry shit the bed, right?
Yeah, the Camry isn't
RIP.
working.
Oh, it
Vic's
finally
Camry.
died?
Yeah.
That car was amazing, dude.
Yeah.
With his little windshield thing, like barely hanging
Oh, yeah,
on.
hanging
with, like,
on
nails
with
and
some
the
duct
hammer.
tape. Yeah, there was no rear view mirror. Yeah.
Yeah, he's really upset about it. I was there yesterday, and he's like, man, I don't know what to do.
So you guys are cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it sucks.
He had a Foos Gone Wild. He had a Foos Gone Wild sticker on the back of it, you know. And this 65. He keeps telling that it's everybody. It's his 65th birthday, but that's been like the last
7
3,
years.
4,
Yeah.
few years now. So he's a little over 65. But imagine seeing a 65-year-old with a Foos Gone Wild bumper sticker. You know, he's pretty cool.
Just going like 80 on a residential street. Like,
Yeah.
I saw him and Hector one time at that fucking little thing on the corner of Alvarado and Sunset. And I was like, I was driving, I could see somebody wearing like Yeezys and shit. I'm like, who's it? And it's fucking Uncle Vic, like denim shorts, fucking Life of Pablo jacket, and decked out.
Yeah.
What's up with this? The real deal? Was he the real deal?
Well, yeah, fuck the real deal.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, he was, this is when I was homeless, and it's just like this dude I just had consistent beef with. Honestly, just because he was like mad annoying. And I don't know, I just like, bro, you can't just call yourself the real deal. Like, what the fuck is that?
Wait,
Like,
that's what
how
his
many people
fucking
were
name
inside
was the real deal?
In your sector, how many people were? How many tents were there with the?
Okay, so
community
I
there?
had locked down this one spot like right off of Highlands. Like when you like go up towards Cahuenga, there's like this little bridge, and you go up, and it's like right on the side of the 101. It's like this little square corner, and I like I don't know, somehow got one of those like foldable like what is it? It's like one of those like tarp covered like canopy things.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just took over like the whole space, and it was like me, my girl, and then I would like let 2 of the homies come and stay sometimes, So
In one tent?
yeah,
Oh, so okay.
man, I was a good host. And so we were all getting high and shit, and here comes the real deal.
How far away was he? Where was his tent?
I don't even know.
Oh, for real? Just turned over?
I don't know. He would just
For real deal.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
He was one of those like homeless dudes just like wandered around. You never knew where his stuff was at, which is pretty smart, you know. But yeah, so here comes the real deal. He's like
Knocking on the tent.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, hey, how's it going, guys? Like, yeah, I've been like, clean off of fentanyl for like 4 days, and we're like, cool, dog, it's great. We're proud of you. He's like, yeah, but like, let me get a hit. And he's like asking like one of the homies. He's like, no, that's just like, I don't know, were you like clean? I don't know. And then like, he didn't ask me because he knew I'd like already hated him. There was this other dude who, and he didn't even ask him. He was just like, dog, stop fucking with me, give me a hit, and then punched him like through the tent. It was like mesh so you could see him, so he just like punched him through the tent.
Damn, that's cold.
And knocked over like a gallon of water inside my tent. And like, that was just like a good excuse for me to like, fight the real deal.
Right.
So, and like I had this lead pipe at like the entrance of my tent, and I get out, and he's like, now he's also really upset for some reason. And he starts taking down like the tarp on my camp. He's like, this is my tarp. I was like, dog, if you don't get the fuck out of here right now, like we're gonna have a problem. Like, and we start like, just arguing and shit, and like he sees me holding the pipe. He's like, all right, just put down the pipe, dog. Let's just like, fight like real men, I'm like, all right, so I don't keep the pipe far away from me, And we start fighting and shit, and he starts like, trying to do like some headlocks and shit, we're like fighting, and then like, all of a sudden like, he like gets me in a headlock, and there's like, it's like every fucking homeless spot is like on a hill for some reason. So
all of them, yeah.
Yeah. So we start like falling backwards down this hill, not very far, and then we like are like back up against this fence, and he has me in the headlock, and I have like the pipe like in like kind of like my like carpenter pocket, like on my pants,
Right on.
So I pull the pipe out, and I just start hitting him in the head, like over my shoulder.
Yeah.
And then my girlfriend's really concerned, so she comes and like tries to break us up, and and then the real deal's like, all right, like my bad, dude, like that. I was like, yeah, it's all good. And then like he's like kind of on the ground, and I just like hit him straight in the head with the pipe.
Full haymaker. Like wow.
Just like I was just trying to ruin him, like.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he just hits the ground. He's just like bleeding out the head, and he's like not breathing and shit. I'm like, bro. Yo, what the fuck? Like,
right, you just kill someone.
I was like, damn, this is like mad inconvenient. So I like dragged the real deal, like, maybe like, I don't know, 50 yards away. Not very far, I just started like throwing leaves on top of him, like we'll deal with this later,
Use the tarp.
we just need to like, handle this now.
Was he not moving at all still?
Yeah, no, bro.
Holy
I
shit.
dragged him across the dirt. He was like not moving. I was like, fuck, Anyway, so I go back. I'm like getting high in the tent, and then all of a sudden I like hear some rustling, and then here comes the real deal.
That's right. Round two. Round two, baby.
He's like all covered in like
Ding, ding,
blood,
ding.
and like there's like leaves stuck to the blood and shit. Like, he's like, yo, Nick, like, I just wanted to thank you, dog, because I haven't had ass being that good in such a long time. He's like, can we just like hug it out? And I was like, yeah, bro, I guess. Wow. So we hug it out, and then he's like, all right, like, but for real, can I get a hit? And I'm like, yeah, dog, you get
Wait
a hit.
for it.
You earned this one.
Yeah, you earned that one for sure.
Bro, I was relieved. I was like, there.
You gave him a hit though, right? After all that shit.
I did give him a hit. I felt like he
Real
deserved
deal got a
it.
hit.
Yeah.
Was that be right? Were you about to get sober?
Yeah, right.
Was that near really the bottom?
That was probably like a year into homelessness.
Oh wow, that was the beginning. Wow,
Yeah.
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so, I already had mad beef.
Yeah, you're such a sweet guy. Sober now.
Yeah.
And also you too, Greg. It's great to see like the transformation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it with that guy, like the guy that wanted to beat your ass? And you're like, yo, dude, like.
Big dog.
Yeah, Big Dog. Okay,
Big
yeah, let's
Dog.
go, Big Dog.
For, lack of his name.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, this was before I was homeless. This is when I was staying at Park La Brea. I was still, doing like, homeless type activities, so I was like, I don't know, I was like into tagging at that point, but like it was like the worst kind of like tweaker like scrawl you've ever seen, you know, just like
You're inventing a new font and shit.
yeah. I was like getting like creative in the wrong way, you know, and I was like down by MacArthur Park, and this like fool starts pressing me like, "Where you from, dog?" And like, you know, I wasn't like saying like where I was from. I was just kind of like arguing, and then I was like, "I'm from the Valley," and he was like, "What?" Like,
Van Nuys.
yeah, I was like, yeah. He's like, "Where?" Van Nuys, and he was like, and then whatever. Basically, like after a little more arguing, he ended up like being cool, you know, and like.
You didn't back down.
Yeah. I mean,
Where did you get that temperament to do that? Were you taught that? You're gonna never back down. Is that why?
Yeah, basically. I mean, like, you know, it was just basically just ingrained in my head. Don't be a bitch, you know.
Cool.
So I mean, I've gotten like, you know.
His grandpa's fucking Tony Curtis. Like,
Who's Tony Curtis?
An old actor.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You have a lot of actors in your phone.
Basically, is the person that Elvis got his whole look from, his whole game from. Yeah.
Amazing,
Yeah,
One of the
but-
greatest actors
Beautiful.
of
You're
the
genetic.
20th
Thank
century.
you. Yeah. But it sucks, bro, because like his last wife took all the money, so I didn't even get to grow up rich. So whack. Like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah, that's
yeah, but
This right here is self-made.
yeah, self-made.
everything I own, which is not much, but I bought that all myself. But yeah, basically, you know, like he was just like, you know, he like took down my number, and like, you know, he ended up just like hitting me up. I didn't think he like would, and like because we were talking about like, you know, like how to make money, you know. I was like, at that point I was just like boosting a lot, you know, and just like, you know, selling like drugs, like a little bit, nothing crazy, you know. And he like hit me up, and like, you know, he's like, "Oh, you want like, you know, come along like on this like robbery and shit?" I was like, "All right, yeah, cool," you know. And that was like the first time. It was cool. He broke me off like with a little bit, and then like the next time he's like, "All right, like I'm trying to meet up." I meet up with him, and he was like, "All right, we're gonna like run some errands," you know. We like go and to like some market. He picks up like some beers and like sandwiches and shit, and then we like go over to like some construction site. He's like, "All right, just stay in the car. I'll be right back." And then he like goes inside, and then he like comes out with like this like, you know, this like older dude, and like, you know, introduced me to him. It's like his dad. And then he's like, "All right, like come on." And then like, you know, I was like, "Doc, what are we doing?" And then what we ended up doing, I just ended up working for his dad. We were just like fucking putting up drywall all day. I was like, "Damn, I thought this fool was gonna put me on."
He did.
He did. Yeah. But
we're doing stucco with Reno and fucking.
It's probably a lot safer than doing.
Well, we ended up like,
robberies.
you know, just like kicking it a bunch, and like, you know, ended up like, you know, making money together or whatever. And like, but he was mad cool. I realized later, because like every time I kick it with him, he would like, you know, he'd be like mad weird about like me getting high, you know, and like, you know, like would like, you know, would buy me a sack, but he'd like hold on to it, which was like mad annoying at the time, you know, because it's like, bro, I'm trying to get fucking high right now. What the fuck's wrong with you? But looking back, like, but he was a tweaker too. But you know, I mean, the like tweaker, like junkie shit is like, you know, he was like, not heroin, not heroin, fool.
Be spun out on speed trying to preach to you about how bad heroin is.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck off.
But yeah, at the
man.
end of the day, I realized like later, like when I got sober and I was in rehab, like he was trying to help me because he was like trying to like, you know, he was basically just trying to keep me only on meth, which is like, you know, not good for me, but in his head,
The
you
lesser
know,
of the two, yeah.
lesser of
Uh-huh,
two
yeah.
evils. You know, he was trying to keep me like, you know, like awake so I could like, you know, like make moves, you know, because like if he let me hold the sack, I was just slumped and was useless. So yeah, he was mad cool.
The worst I ever had was like I had an owner who had like a trick who halfway through like had me like they'd pull stuff like halfway through, and like halfway through he's like basically got me to imitate his dog while I was fucking him from the back. Which was just involved me barking while fucking this man for like.
Can you do the bark?
Huh?
What? Yeah.
I'm not. That's also what I found out. Like I'm not a good like. It was like. But also trying to come to this like really unattractive man who's looking at his like 11-year-old dog in the corner and like picturing this dog fucking him. So.
Oh wow.
I'm glad I'm sober.
Wow.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, thank you guys for
Thanks,
coming.
guys. For sure.
Thanks for that. That's right, big dog. Yeah.
Two-Tone and Glennis.
Glennis and Two-Tone, you're up.
Wait. I told Ann. I think Ann's already coming back.
Okay.
Can we do Two-Tone and Ann?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Glennis, you're next. I'm gonna pee.
And Pine.
And the five.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey.
I love you,
I'm
Anne
so
Pine.
scared.
You scared? Really?
I'm not scared. I just know what's going to happen, you know?
You're more man than I'll ever be and more woman than I can handle.
I know.
You all right.
I know.
Remember I was rolling that blunt in that Zoom?
Yeah, on a
in Home
Zoom
Alone?
meeting, and you were in a
you're-
fucking trap house. There's tinfoil surrounding him
Yeah.
in a trap house on Zoom. And I'm like, yo, fucking Lawrence, don't be fucking rolling blunts in the middle of a fucking AA meeting.
You didn't say that.
I sure did.
I think what you said was like, Lawrence, are you rolling a blunt? Maybe my perception,
Maybe
took
I
it-
did. I might have been nicer about it. I
You
was
were
like,
really
"Yo,
nice
Lawrence,
about
are
it.
you rolling a blunt?"
Yeah, then I just
and he
let
was
him-
like, "Oh shit!" And he like turned his camera off or something.
Man, I was such a different
You're the
person.
COVID miracle. That's what I tell everyone.
Oh, man, thank you so
I
much.
tell everyone the Lawrence is the COVID miracle.
Thank you, yeah.
He is the COVID miracle.
Yeah, God is
I-
good. God
What
is
up,
great.
Two-Tone?
What up, Two-Tone?
What's up? What's going on, guys? Hi, how are you?
Hey, I'm Ann. We've met, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's
Hi.
up? Hey.
We're all from the same place, apparently.
Apparently.
My girlfriend's in the audience, and she's
Great.
No applause, no applause, no. She's
She deserves it.
she's straight as an arrow, right? Yeah. And in a few months, I'm going to try to convince her I can smoke a joint, and she's going to say, "Then you're going to rape a dog." And so there's no fucking way I can get away with anything after her seeing this.
Alex, like, I've seen you in meetings so much, and, like, you're such a quiet person. So I don't know anything really about you. But I heard you're badass. You know?
No, I'm not badass. No. I don't know. These stories are far exceed anything I've ever done. I've just like, I've had a few meltdowns, you know. But,
Like what?
Spend your rent money on.
No, you know what's interesting? I'll tell you a story about Glam Slam. You know where Glam Slam is over? You guys don't know about that. It's a long time ago.
What is it?
Yeah, Glam Slam right there.
Is it a restaurant?
By the Rockwood Yard, Glam Slam. Okay, this is like the '90s.
A bar?
It's Prince's Club. It's Prince's Club in LA, right?
Got it.
He opened this club in LA. It was the first club that had security with like earpieces, right? It was the first time I saw that. I'm a kid. I'm like in and out of high school, late teens, early 20s, completely just like acid freak, you know, anything hallucinogenic, I'm jamming it in me. And I go to Glam Slam with my friends. I take some mescaline. I take a bunch of acid. I'm drinking a bunch of Southern Comfort. You know the story. It doesn't hit. Whatever. What's going on? All of a sudden, it all hits at once. I have a complete like psychotic break, and I think my friend Crush, because I'm very worried about myself at this time in my life. Like, what am I going to do with myself? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just running around going to fucking raves and taking acid and doing nitrous. My friend Crush, I'm having this conversation with him, and somehow I extrapolate from that conversation that he owns the club because I'm out of my mind. So I'm like, oh, and I'm like, we own this club, and he's saying yes. And I go, cool, check this out, and I throw a shot glass at the mirror and shatter the entire mirror behind the bar. Those big goons with the earpieces pop up out of nowhere and just like beat me with flashlights till my pants fall off. Then they kick me outside, and it's daytime, and I'm in the parking lot, and I'm still wandering around, just like I don't know what's going on. I think that we own the helicopters in downtown LA, like completely out of my fucking, out of my head. And this woman's like in a van, and she's just like trying to lure me into her van. It's like singing me some siren song, and I'm walking towards her, and my friend Crush pulls up in a little gold MR2. And he goes, Two-Tone, let's go. And I'm like, what? And he goes, come on, let's go. So I turn around and walk towards the car, and he just drives away. So then I'm just stuck in downtown LA with literally like nothing. I got, no money, out of my mind. I go to a payphone. I call my roommate. I'm like, hey, can you help me? He can't help me. I'm just sitting on the corner. And a truck pulls up, a gardening truck. And I just go, hey, are you going to Venice? And the guy goes, yep. And he get
right in there.
From downtown LA.
Jump in.
I get in the truck, like totally chill.
Wow.
Yeah, I get in the truck. He's all, I'm going to the Circle. I'm like, I live by the Circle. I get in the truck. I go home, and here I am today. So I mean, but it's just like
I can't. I'm trying to. Can we talk about puppies or something? This is so dark. Like we're
double rainbows. We can talk about double rainbows.
Has anyone just gotten stoned and seen some butterflies? Like, is there anything? Can anyone just have a beer? Just like tell a joke.
Watch a basketball game and have a beer.
Watch a game, have a beer.
I've tried so many times to just turn it around and act. I'd like get a great job, and I'd be like around like these new people. And like, we're gonna go out for drinks, and okay, cool. And then like you're kind of like, I want to just really try to drink like normal people, and you have a couple cocktails, and you're just. As soon as the fucking bear's out of the cage, like you just can't wait to go do what it is
I've
that you
literally
want to do.
never tried to be normal. I've literally never tried to drink normally. There's no fun in that.
When did you start drinking?
When I was 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Woo! Party? Or
no, I was
mom's
just like
liquor cabinet?
at this kid's house, and they were like, we should try drinking. And I was like, okay. And I was like, it was almond flavored vodka, which is probably something else, but that's what it was to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had a great time. Everyone else was like, this is disgusting. We ended up like chasing each other around with like a speculum, you know what those are?
No.
Like,
That's a cool house.
It's well, the dad was a gynecologist, so he had like these vintage vagina tools. So a speculum is like this metal thing. It's like a duck kind of, and you put it in, and then you go, oh, and it's how you look
I've seen
inside
porn
the
like that
puss.
before, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we ended up doing that. I played like 7 Minutes in Heaven. It's interesting when you're 10, though. It's a little different.
Okay. So then from drinking, what happened after that?
I kept
11,
drinking.
12.
I kept drinking.
Really? Continuously?
Oh, yeah. I was like, this is it. I was like, this is it. I'm in. Let's do this. By the time I was 13, if I didn't drink every day, I had DTs.
No weed or other drugs yet?
Oh, I mean, there were things, and yes, there were. I didn't know what anything was. People would just hand me pills, and I'd take them.
Well, you're in LA, right?
No, this is all in Portland.
Portland, where you're back again, right?
Yeah, I live there now.
Awesome. So, like, when did meth come in? Any heroin? Any?
Yeah, I mean,
Good shit?
Yeah,
Like,
the good shit came in. I was like, when I was 18, I met this guy from Southern Oregon, which is like, if anyone knows, it's like Hippieville, like whatever.
Is that like Grants Pass?
Yeah,
like,
Grants Pass down
That's
there.
as far up in Oregon as I've ever been. I stopped.
That's a
that's
bad
my
spot
Oregon.
to stop.
That's where my
Not
Oregon
a good spot to stop.
ends.
But yeah, he was like, hey, have you ever done MDMA? And I was like, no. And he was like, I think you'll like it. And I was a drug dealer, so I was like, whatever, cool. So I tried it, and then he was like, do you think you could sell a pound for me? And I was like, sure, I'll try. And I sold it in a week. I was like living in a dorm. I wasn't living in it, my friends were, but I was sold drugs there. So I sold it in a week, and and then I was doing 4 grams a day to myself, which is a lot.
Would you cap it, or were you just like?
Oh, no, I was just snorting it.
Just snorting, okay.
Yeah. No, gram lines only. Key bumps, I don't know what that is. Like, and so I did that for like 4. I did that for like 3 years, just doing 4 grams of Molly a day, which is a lot. I have permanent brain damage, which isn't that funny, but it is. But it is.
We know.
I was just
We
gonna
know,
say,
Lawrence,
I've met some people like in recovery that like this was like the good shit, right?
Oh, yeah.
MDMA.
Well, I mean,
Like
that
the
wasn't all I
pure
did,
bomb
but
shit
it
or
was
whatever.
it was good.
Never like crossed over, like and segued to meth.
Well, so the last year of my using, I used to sell drugs for this guy who was this like older hippie, and he was gay, and he had these dreads that went down to his knees, and he was like a typical guy who went to Burning Man, and he had all these other little gays who worked for him. They were all called his fairies, and then there was me. I was the girl who worked for him, so I was like the queen of the fairies. And he one day was like, yo, I've got this H, like, you want to try it? And I was like, sure. H to me is hash. Like, I thought H was hash. So I'm like, hell yeah, I love this shit. And it was like better than the other shit I'd ever tried. So I was like, yeah, I'm in, and I want all of it. And so he like went on this whole story about how he made it in his like dryer, like his drying machine. I don't fucking know. It's all black tar in Portland. So H.
Can you make black tar in a washing machine? Anybody know that? Like,
it's all black tar.
Okay.
So
Making black tar in your washing machine.
Yeah,
I guess you can. I don't know, but I was doing it for probably 6 months, like freebasing it. I didn't know that it wasn't normal to free. I thought that's what everyone did. I just thought people freebased hash. And so I was doing it for like a year, and I kept like, there would be days where I wouldn't do it, and I'd end up in the hospital, and they'd be like, "What's wrong? Are you coming off drugs?" And I'd be like, "No," because I thought it was hash. And like, yeah, when I went to rehab, they like drug tested me. They're like, you have a lot of opiates in your system. I was like, that's crazy. I was like, I haven't taken a fucking pill in so long. And anyways, at one of my first meetings I went to when I got out of rehab, I ran into this kid who used to sell. He was a fairy, and he was like, oh my God, can you believe like 3 months ago we were in blah blah blah's basement like doing heroin? That's so crazy. I was like, me? I was like, I did not do heroin. I was like so proud of myself too. Like I was like, I avoided heroin. And he was like, yo, like that's crazy. He's like, do you remember that time that you nodded out on his front porch and we had to carry you into your car and left you there for hours? I was like, yeah, I just thought I was tired. They were like, no, that's heroin. And then it's like, all of a sudden, like, it just clicked. Like, all of it just came together. And I was like, yeah, why is it every time I smoke this, I puke? Or, like, why is it every time I do this, I, like, fall asleep in random places? Or, like, all of it came, it just, yeah. So, yeah, I was doing heroin for the last month. I did meth a bunch, but accidentally. I did PCP a bunch, accidentally.
Tell us about that.
I was at an Andre
way?
I was at an Andre Nicotina concert.
Yes, Ayo for Yayo.
Let's go.
And I was like, it was the first night I did acid. Actually, was at an Andre Nicotina concert, and some dude was passing me a joint, and I was like, fuck yeah, like I love weed, you know, like sure, I'll hit it. And all of a sudden, I noticed like something wasn't right, like you know, like something was fucking left, and yeah, it turns out it was PCP. You know, all I remember is that I was having a good time, and then that's it. Like, I had a good time.
And then you weren't.
No, everyone said I had a lot of fun that night. Nothing bad happened. I was, like, living my best fucking life. Like, I, like, would try to get on stage, and he was like, no. Like, I don't want this little white girl from fucking Portland on my stage. Like, get out of here, you know? But it was a good time, you know? Like, every time I did PCP, it was a good time.
Alex described it a long time ago as PCP just being like 15 degrees to the right of being a human being or something.
No, that's that Jude shit. What is it?
2CI or 2CE or 2CB.
No, ketamine.
Oh, ketamine is that's
Ketamine,
different.
oh, yeah.
You know,
Ketamine's
everyone does
terrible.
ketamine now. Everyone.
Yeah.
Like
They make
casually.
lozenges.
No
they
one
make,
even
like-
does ketamine. Like people do
habit.
it in the club. Like people are having like they don't do coke anymore. They're like coke has fentanyl in it, so I do ketamine. And I'm like,
That's heavy. I had a guy that was working with me. He was on ketamine the whole time. I was like, how the fuck do you do your job when you're literally outside of your body? Like, you're working here, and there's your ghost you is working over here.
yeah.
What the fuck is going on?
When I did ketamine, I was like sitting in a basement staring at a wall for 3 hours, listening to some band named Spangle. Like I was like,
Yeah,
like,
man, Anne's got all the fucking all the bangers tonight,
Oh,
from
dude,
Andre Nicotina
fucking-
to Spangle.
Oh, I mean, it was
know
like
who that is?
that's
You know
what I
who
was doing on
Spangle
ketamine. We
is?
used to, you know, my friend's mom, like had chronic illness or pain or whatever, and so she would get the fentanyl patches. So what we used to do is we used to scrape you because it's like a I don't know what it is, but it's like we scrape.
A crispy coating.
Yeah, no, but it's like a gel almost.
Yeah, it's a gel. You get
yeah.
the gel out.
And
yeah.
we would scrape the gel off the patches. We'd fucking light it up and we'd fucking smoke it.
Yeah.
Oh, no
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Those
that
work,
was when
Danny?
fentanyl was like
You
chill.
can smoke the gel off a
Yeah,
fentanyl patch?
uh-huh.
Yeah,
Is it good?
fentanyl was chill back then.
Yeah, it wasn't like the fentanyl. Yeah,
No, it wasn't like
one-
now.
Interesting.
That guy who invented fentanyl, I read an article. He said he never would have invented it if he had an idea what would happen. Like
Yeah, that's what everyone
happen.
fucking says
Yeah,
until
right.
they're billionaires.
That's what Hitler
That's
said
like
about
that's
that.
like
Yeah, that's a
Dr.
Some of the guys that
Oppenheimer with
invented
the
frozen
nuclear
yogurt too.
I first tried ketamine, and this is very odd. I don't know if I've ever told this. I don't think I've ever said this in a public setting for sure. I first did a ketamine at Occupy LA. Have I ever talked about this? No. Do you guys remember Occupy when that
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah,
It started. It started with Occupy Wall Street, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we are the whatever, we are the 99%, and then it came here to LA, and it was like in front of City Hall. They had like all these dudes started, like it was like Burning Man ended, and then whatever like festival after that ended, and all
yeah.
these dirty kids like showed up outside of
Yeah, a
City
bunch
Hall.
of white
and set up
people who want to be
a-
woke.
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah,
Those woke white
sounds
people.
familiar.
Yeah, for real. That set up tents outside of there, and I was like, oh, this is like my kind of vibe, and I'm strung out, I have a house that was, I'm probably behind on rent. I'm living in Silver Lake. I've talked about this house before, the one that didn't have power in it and whatever, the one that Sasha and I lived in. And I'm living there, and I was making edibles at the time. And I was like, oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go and take all these like defective edibles that were melted or like didn't come out right, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna bring them to the occupiers, you know, and I'm gonna support and come there with unity, you know. And I came through, and I gave them all these. Like I had like Reese's. We were making Reefer's peanut butter cups, which is like Reese's peanut butter cups, but with ganja, you know, very original.
You are creative.
Nice.
You're a creator.
I was an entrepreneur, you know. And so we brought the Reefer's peanut butter cups, and I met these guys, and I gave them out, and they were like, "Man, you're so cool!" Like, you know, and it was like the dirtiest. Like I've been to Reggae on the River 3 times, and the last day they would let people in that were like the street dudes that would just hang out outside of the festival with their dogs and like lived out of a van. They would let them all in, and this was like those people, like the ones that didn't make it into the festival. They all ended up at fucking at
Outside
Occupy
City Hall.
Yeah, outside of
Los
City
Angeles.
Hall. Yeah. Talking about we are the 99%, yeah, the 99% that have not showered in a fucking year, you know,
Shitting in buckets.
yeah, for real, like Nick, and so I give these guys all these Reefer's peanut butter cups, and they're like, hey man, you want a bump? And I was like, no, I'm cool, you know. And they're like, it's ketamine, it's K, you know, and I hadn't tried it before, so I was like, sure. And I remember trying it and being like, wow, this is it, you know. And then one of the dudes was like, hey, I gotta hit the road. But I'm gonna leave my tent here. I'm gonna leave you the tent because you decked us out with edibles, you know. So I was like, all right, cool. And then another dude, I gave him some, and he was like, here's some ketamine, you know, and he gave me a gram of ketamine. So I would take my leftover edibles that I would have from my little house in Silver Lake. I didn't have a car at the time, so I would take the Sunset bus down, the number 2, to City Hall. I would get off. I would go there, and I had a tent at Occupy LA that I was pretend occupying City Hall just so I could do ketamine.
But you were going home every night.
I was going home to shower and shit. Yeah, they're like, where
Yeah,
you
that's
going?
what everyone who did Occupy did. They all had homes. They all had like nice things, and they just wanted to look like they gave a fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like Portland.
In your episode description, it talks about crazy STIs, right?
Yes, it does. Long story short, I used to go to this. I have a friend here, and we all used to go to this fucking club called fuck. Why can't I think of it? The karaoke bar. Yeah, the karaoke bar. The Spare Room. We used to all go to the Spare Room. It was not a good time. I mean, it was, but whatever. And this is when I still thought I was straight. Anyways, I like, me and my friend, and she was like pretty gay. We like met this really dirty, nasty dude, and we were like, I bet he wants to have a threesome with us. So that was like our whole thing. We always wanted to do like, what was the craziest thing we could all do? And this is me sober, by the way. Like all my friends are not. I am. But I was so reckless. And so we met this dude. He was really dirty. We knew he'd say yes. We went back to his, he lived in a basement of some like fucking punk house. And he had like his own room down there. All there was like a mattress on some pallets. And he had like a coat hanger thing, like one of those ones that you use for styling. And all there was like wire hangers. There was no clothes on. All the clothes were on the floor with a bunch of condom wrappers. Like it was just
It's like Saw.
It literally, it was just condom wrappers and like dirty clothes. And
You guys were like, yeah.
yeah, we were like, I was like down. I was like sober. I'm like down, you know, like yeah. And so my friend was like, all right, let's do this. So we like get on the bed with him, and she's like making out with him, and then she's like, you know what? I don't really feel like fucking him anymore. And I was like, what? We're like, here, we have to do this thing. And I was like, we're not done. Like, it's not done. And she's like, why don't you just have sex with him and I'll watch? And I was like, okay. So I did. And then it was bad. It was really bad. We ended up like spending the rest of the night like hitting him with the coat hangers. He like loved it. He was like jerking off, and we're like hitting the shit out of him with these coat hangers.
Yelling at him?
What?
Saying names?
I don't know his name.
Were you saying like, you like, or like, what are you like?
Oh, I don't really know. Yeah, I guess we were like, haha, you piece of shit. Like, fuck you, trash. Like, whatever, you know. I was like going through this phase. There's a thing that
There's kind of
happens when
porn
you.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, like I got sober so young. I was 21 when I got sober. I'd already been using for 11 years, so it wasn't like I was like fresh, you know. But I was like, I had more wreckage to cause. Let's just say, like I wasn't done being a piece of shit. So I I sought validation in a lot of different ways, and sex was one of them because I couldn't get fucking loaded. So I went back to his house the next day by myself. And I was like, whatever, I'll just have sex with him again. Even though, like, I didn't get off, it wasn't good, like, nothing great happened. And for some reason, I let him put it, God fucking Jesus, please don't let my mom listen to this. I let him put it in my puss, in my butt, back in my puss again. Like, we did a lot of things, and it wasn't great. I was, like, not into it at all, but I just, like, hated myself, so I did it, you know? I'm one of those girls. And so, yeah, I, like, we were done. I let him finish. He's like, can I finish in your ass? I was like, just fucking finish, you know, like, get me out of here. I, like, run into his little tiny gross bathroom, and there's, like, cum, blood, and poo particles just, like, dripping out of my asshole. I'm, like, farting it out. Yeah, it's real. Welcome to what we have to deal with. And so I fucking leave immediately. 2 days later, I'm sitting on an airplane, and I'm like, something's not right. Like, this is not good. I, like, go to the urgent care.
Burning, stinging?
A lot. Yeah, there's burning, itching. There was sting coming out. It was bad. So I'm like, get back to town, whatever. I finally get my phone call from fucking wherever it was. I think it was Planned Parenthood, actually. And they fucking call me, and I have it on speakerphone. I'm at my friend's house. I'm like, oh, they're not going to say anything bad. And they're like, hi, Miss Pine. We're just calling to let you know that you have tested positive for, like, chlamydia, gonorrhea. There was, like, 2 I had never heard of before. Yeah, and then they were like, you also have a UTI. You have BVI, which is bacterial vaginosis, if you don't know. I also had a yeast infection, and
sourdough.
It just is all bad. It was so bad. I had to take like this cocktail of antibiotics that, like, I can't even describe. Like, there was 2 that were pills. Like, one was like the horse pill, one was like some other pill. They gave me a shot. They, like, gave me this powder. This was the worst part. It was this antibiotic that was a powder, and it was for the infection that they'd never heard of. And they, like, I had to pour it into a bottle of fucking water and then, like, chug it for like 3 fucking days. And it was disgusting. But yeah.
I think he might be in the audience. Jeff Cutter, do you want to?
Oh my God! Imagine it was Jeff. Imagine it was Jeff. No,
Wow.
let's just I didn't have sex with him again, but I had sex with a lot of people just like him.
Wow. Any more STIs, or was that just the big whammy?
Any what?
That's not enough.
That's the
There
whole
was
deal.
this guy Tanner who, like, everyone knows Tanner.
Tanner.
My friend Jasmine's here. She knows Tanner. I hated him. I hated him more than anything. But I liked having sex with people I hated because it made me feel worse about myself. Or, like, I felt like I was doing some, like, good deed. Like, you're gonna have a good lover. I don't know what it was. Anyways, I fucked him on my friend's porch at this house that all my friends lived at. It was called Hellmouth, and I was the only sober person. And anyways, I fucked him in, like, a yard bed, and I had to get dirt out of my pussy for, like, a week. It took so long. Now there's dead animals buried in that yard. There might have been 2 when I was fucking having sex in it, but I'm not sure. I mean, there are plenty of bad things that happened.
Wow.
You had a lot of cool stuff in there, man. It's, like, it's really multi-purpose. Dirt,
Yeah, you know,
awesome germs that never.
I mean,
never,
they're
you never
great
heard of
for
before.
carrying drugs. They're great for everything.
It's like that story. Remember the whole story about the woman who got the STI, and it turns out you can only get it from corpses.
Yeah.
Or the whole urban.
Yeah.
That's probably the one that I had.
Yeah. Zombie STDs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably.
Nice.
You know, I never got STIs when I was fucking using, though, which is the crazy part.
You know what's so weird about that?
Only
We
when I
talk
got
about that
sober.
too. Like, you never get sick when you're on, like, a gnarly meth run. You ever
No.
notice that? You, like, get sick when you, like, you burn out or stop
Yeah.
getting bloated or.
Yeah, you
it's
can,
so
like,
crazy.
snort all the fucking drugs off the back of a toilet. And
Yeah,
as soon
that
as
have been
you fucking,
transported in people's asses.
and then as
across
soon as you
borders and
fucking
shit.
get sober, they're like, you've got whatever, the
Yeah.
bird flu or.
That's why COVID skipped over Skid Row. It's just like, no.
Well, it's like the
U-turn A, it took a U-turn for Jesus Christ.
The first time I got MRSA was after I got sober, and they were like, "So have you been using needles?" I was like, "I don't do drugs," and they were like, "They're like, how did you get MRSA?" I was like, "Everyone I'm friends with did drugs." Like, you know what
You're
I mean?
like,
Like,
fucking
I was like, all
junkies.
like
How
the
else do
people
you
I'm
think?
having sex with the first year of my sobriety are all like fresh off the needle. You know, like.
Totally.
Wow.
In a sober living with, like, 90 days sober, updating their Facebook profile picture because they've been in the gym like 5 times. You know what I mean? Like, fucking, that's so
Oh, my
funny.
guys did not go to the gym.
I go to the gym.
You go to the gym?
Oh,
yeah, that's because you got to let out the energy somehow.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Alex, you got another one for us?
Yeah, Alex, what's
I want
going
to see
on?
Lawrence do some burpees. How about that?
Well, Lawrence is like, I don't know if everyone says this, but I always say this, is like once a tweaker, always a tweaker.
Forever. Yeah.
And Lawrence is like the epitome of that,
Yeah.
It's like he's got so much energy. He's always going. There's like 100 things that need to be done, a lot of things that need to be said. But it's like the most magical thing because now we know he's actually sober.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's like, I mean, I think I qualify for that as well. I think
Yeah, but you used to wear like American Apparel and wear like headbands around your fucking head when you were living on the fucking streets.
I picked out an outfit. This
And
is a few
wigs.
weeks ago. I sent Keith the photo too. And I come out and I go, Camille, what do you think of this? Camille's my girlfriend. I'm wearing like these yellow pants with a yellow dragon shirt with like some. And she was like, "You look like a modern." I think she said, "You look like a modern day tweaker, right?" Is that? Yeah. And then I sent Keith the photo. I said, "Camille said I look like a modern day tweaker," and he just goes, "Well." That's her response.
I mean, Keith can tell you a whole cohesive story, but if you ask him to type one sentence, it's like you're asking him to explain like physics. It's insane. I read his Instagram post, and I'm just baffled every time.
The pictures.
They're written
I'm like,
backwards in Cyrillic. It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
he's like posting pictures, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure Keith is high. Is he okay? Like, has anyone checked on Keith
Yeah, there's
today?
no rhyme or reason. It's just
No, I'm like, has anyone yesterday? He's apparently he saved the day on set yesterday, but he's like got some picture he posted wearing like a giant crown on a chain around his neck, and it's like only fucking tweakers walk around like fucking the streets looking like that,
I
dude.
swear to God, they put it on me. I didn't have that. I didn't happen to have that thing.
Oh wow.
I know.
Yeah, sure.
It's awfully convenient, Keith.
In my defense, that's the kind of shit Alex would have around his living room. There's so many fucking knick-knacks.
I like knickknacks.
Knickknacks are not the
I'm
same.
a bad guy because I like knickknacks.
You're just a tweaker.
Not a tweaker.
I have a girlfriend who literally like she still has like a tiny tool set. Like she was like a huge tweaker, and she still got like this little like handyman kit with like tiny tools,
Like a
to,
sunglasses repair
Oh yeah,
kit?
to fit. No, more than that. Like a tiny shovel, like a tiny thing, and it's
wow.
she's like anything can be fixed anytime, and I was like, you're a fucking tweaker, dude.
There was a tweaker chick.
Annie Hardy? Is that you
who
talking
had that ear cleaning kit.
Oh, what? Ear cleaning kit?
Yeah, this girl from Covina. She,
Oh,
that was her whole
this
thing.
is fucking crazy.
She do speed and want to clean your ears, like clean people's ears.
Oh, that's bad for you,
And her boyfriend was like the baddest fucking dude in Covina, right? So
Yeah,
she would
dude,
ask people, "Let me clean your ears."
Yeah.
And her boyfriend was right there.
Dudes would be walking
No
around the house
way.
and like dudes would be like this, all bummed and shit, but they were so scared of him. They just be like.
We used to get high and do those burning
Oh
things
my
where like, how
God.
close can you get the beeswax to burn to your face?
Oh, the
before
ear
you fucking-
candle. Yeah, those
I
are
used
cool.
to love that shit.
Yeah, she was like, she wanted to do it was like the game of operation. She had like a little thing she would unroll
Oh.
and like sit there and dig it
hell
out. There's
no.
no candles,
And
nothing.
Oh,
Like,
the ear
hell
infection
to the
was
no.
some fucking
No, that's
shit
just
like
really
that.
bad for you.
Oh,
Don't
that's
do that.
awesome.
We're not supposed to use Q-tips either, just so you know.
yeah.
It's true.
I do.
Yeah, public
Because it
service
works.
announcement. No
yeah,
Q-tips.
public service announcement. Do not use. I wash my ear. I don't know. This doesn't matter, but I wash my ears in the shower by putting my head underneath it and rinsing it out
I pour hydrogen peroxide in mine and just let it bubble for
every
like 5
single
minutes.
fucking time.
No, but like 2-3 times a week.
Use that little.
That's
deep,
every
that
single
little deep
fucking
rock
time.
shit.
Like how often are
Yeah.
you fucking showering?
Yeah.
You do have a huge hydrogen peroxide thing in the room.
Yeah.
I shower once a week. Sometimes if I'm getting laid, I shower more, but I just wash my, more.
Yeah.
During the pandemic,
Well, you've learned.
Jamie can attest. Like I probably showered like 6 or 7 times in like 9 months. It was bad.
Damn.
It was terrible. Yeah. Well, like, a lot
Why
of
do you
times.
think? Hey, that's why Lawrence got all the cologne. He just
Yeah, exactly,
fucking bathed
yeah,
it.
you gotta get the cologne.
Lawrence is the
King.
king of cologne.
King.
Wait,
Cologne.
are you just walking around all lubed up all the time?
All lubed up, like basically, yeah. And all I had were hospital socks, and I was naked. It was fucking crazy.
Glazed donut.
Yeah,
Just
glazed donut. I mean,
shiny.
because like Jamie had his whole house in concrete, so like everything was slippery. So I was so grateful when I got back from the hospital that I had the hospital socks because they really helped me.
Because they have the grip on the
'Cause
bottom.
Oh, the
you
grippy
you
socks.
take your feet in like you're like trying to do
Wow.
like you can plant it in real well. Yeah.
Concrete floors are the best though because you could still do drugs off them. It was so much easier to scrape up your
any pipe I
drugs
drop,
and like.
I've dropped so many meth bongs on the ground, they instant shatter because concrete's hard as fuck. I've cracked so many bongs cracked so many bongs, so many. No pipe could ever last a drop on Jamie's concrete.
That's why you
Worse when
freebase.
you're high like that, you got to clean
called
up glass.
freebasing.
Yeah.
We had
It's
this
fucked
game, and this is use this term very loosely. We had this game called I've heard debate about it. Some people call it. I thought we called it the Hoover, but then somebody told me it's called the wheelbarrow. Where basically, if I had a bag of some kind of powder and Alex had a bag of another kind of powder, and Ann had a
Don't
bag
bring
of another.
Alex into this.
Alex is in. Oh, he's not getting out of this. We would basically stand there, and if it was a place that had a wood floor or a concrete floor, we would take our bag out and we would pour it there, and we would pour it out, and we would make a line on the floor, and then you go in teams, right? And and this isn't like a gram line. This is like, this is a fucking line. This is like a half ounce or more. And what happens is you have somebody pick your legs up, and you put your face down, and then they push you along the floor as you're inhaling.
It's like a keg stand for degenerates.
Exactly, yeah. And it's like you do like Molly and Coke and whatever else you got, and then you keep going back and forth until like you literally have like fucking rug
Like
burn on
Chevy
your
Chase
face
in
from
that
like
movie,
sliding
It's on a
across.
rug?
Wow.
No,
So
it's on the
concrete
hardwood.
floor.
No, but it's like you're still scraping your face along it. You're trying not
You
to.
guys had a lot of drugs, man.
We had a
So-
lot
Yeah,
of
no
drugs.
shit. And
Well,
then
when
you
you're a
just all
drug
stay
dealer,
inside
were you
and see
ever a
what
drug dealer?
happens.
Because when you're a drug dealer, you have an excess amount of drugs.
You got to
Just
come up with
all
fun
the
ways.
time.
Yeah.
It's the best. The best way to be a drug addict is to be a drug dealer.
That's right.
Thank you. Thank you. My wise words.
Well, thanks, you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
awesome.
thank you
Great
guys.
job.
Thank you.
Give a round of applause. There we go.
Thank
Woo.
you.
Yeah.
Hey, Glynis.
Glynis, where you at, Glynis?
Glynis, there she is.
Glynis, yeah.
I want to give a few quick
Take the
shout
hard way
outs too. Shout out to Powerful Truth Angels
Yeah,
and the Hard Luck
PTA.
Show, PTA. Yeah, Keith and I have
wanna
been on
hear
them both
my-
now, so yeah, check us.
You want to hear
Check 'em
Alex
out.
get surgical with the verbiage? Listen to Powerful Truth Angels. My man is so
Should we
good on
should we
that.
scoot over? We're
Yeah,
like over
sure.
here in the fucking DJ booth, Let's get a little closer. What's
Anyone
up,
listen to Glynis's episode?
Hello.
Yeah.
Awesome, cool, yeah. Great,
I was there
funny,
when we
yeah.
recorded it. That's why I listened. Woo.
How are you, Glynis?
I'm good. How are you?
Thanks for coming by.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Appreciate it, yeah. So people that haven't, she has a pretty crazy story, working with the cartel, and then also being a high-end escort, that's just dope. You're so hot, it's perfect. You know what I'm saying? It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing, yeah. So what's up with so how did you start working for the cartel?
I was getting high. My veins were shot out. I couldn't shoot anymore, and I found fentanyl, and I started doing fentanyl. I was smoking it, and I was getting high in MacArthur Park in downtown LA, and I was copping fentanyl on Skid Row. It was hard. I was making a lot of money as an escort, so I had a lot of money, and I was I looked nice and I presented well, but I was copying large quantities of fentanyl at a time on Skid Row, which they don't really hold large quantities in a tent, and I was coming a lot.
What's your large quantity?
I was getting an ounce at a time.
That's a lot, right, Nini?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shitload of fentanyl?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yes.
Well, it was cheaper to do it that way.
Right.
And I was crazy. So I would go to Skid Row to fucking 7th and Alameda or 6th and San Pedro. And I would go see the Cubans or, some of the gangbangers down there, and I would get a shitload of fentanyl, and I was getting more and more at a time. And what happened was I was getting so much at a time, they weren't holding that much. So I think after I was consistent and I was showing up with money, they ended up introducing me to the person they were getting it from, who was staying in this crazy skyrise in downtown LA. And he started selling me a lot, and I was picking up a lot, and I was picking up a
What's
lot.
a lot?
Picking up a lot. It went from ounces, and then I started selling it to other people. So I was buying pounds and kilos of meth and fentanyl.
Jesus.
And then I was escorting too. So sometimes I would go out of town for a week or 2 weeks at a time, and I was traveling all over the country. And what happened was that I was going down to San Diego for a week to see a client, as we call him. I was going to see a trick, let's be honest. Yeah, so I was going down to San Diego, and they were always asking me, like, if I wanted to cross drugs over the border. And the money was dog shit. It just wasn't.
How much?
It was like $500 to $1,000
For each pack.
For each pack. So if you were crossing like a kilo, it depended on what you were crossing. I didn't really find out like all the details of what I needed.
So
to
little,
cross.
you used to want even more, no more.
And the risk was too high. Yeah, I would be looking at 7 to 10 years of federal time, and I was already making a lot of money. And I didn't really want to be a drug dealer. I wasn't like selling drugs. I was just buying so much because I could get high for free, and I could kind of like unload off of some of the like high-end tricks in like the Hollywood Hills who would buy a lot from me at a time. So it was only selling to like 2 or 3 people.
Got it.
I wasn't like on the block, like slanging. And I went down to San Diego, and they were like, well, if you don't want to cross drugs, you can cross people. And so I went down to San Diego to go see this trick, and then I also was like crossing Mexicans over the border.
Right.
Yeah.
What was your first experience with that?
My first experience. Well, I went down to San Diego, and I went down with one of the dudes that I knew from downtown LA. I went to San Diego, and we got like a motel or a hotel room there. And so the first time I met these guys, the cartel guys, whoever the fuck they were, I don't know, Flacco and fucking Chocho, like I don't know their real names.
Yeah.
These random dudes. They came to the hotel room, and I remember they were talking to me, and I was kind of like, I'd been on a gnarly run. I'd been getting high for years straight. I had given up trying to get sober.
Yeah.
So they were like, this is what you need to do, and this is where you go. And they're like, are you nervous? And I was like, no. I kind of was just like looking for something to feel something, I guess. I just wanted to feel something crazy. And they would give me directions to go to some like fucking far off street. Like you go down this way, and they would have me wear like a earphone so I could talk to them on the phone without having the phone to my ear.
Yeah, that's great.
Because there was Border Patrol, hidden. Maybe there was. I don't know. Maybe there wasn't. Apparently there was, because I ended up getting caught. But I would have them in my ear, and I would go a different route every time. There would be different pickups, and there was people running drugs and immigrants constantly. I wasn't the only one, and I didn't know who else was doing it. We didn't meet each other. Nothing like that. So I would have them in my ear. And I wouldn't actually pick them up from Mexico. They would come in on onion trucks, and like a coyote would bring them to the border. And so I would go a certain way, and they'd be in my ear. They'd be like, do you see anybody? Okay, are you good? Where are you at right now? Where are you at right now? And then it was often like some random fucking dirt road in the middle of nowhere where they would send me
Not a single house, not a single nothing.
No, there wouldn't really be anything. There would be just a random dirt road, and you would see maybe like a little ranch every like few miles. But there would be a point where the cellular connection would drop, but they would know, because they would have people at these ranches. This is what I'm assuming, I'm pretty sure. Because they would know where I was at. So they would know what kind of car I was in, and there would be people watching, like in these ranches, maybe people that were like being paid to watch or part of the whole operation. And they would know where I was at, and they'd be like, okay, slow down right here. You're gonna lose cell service in like 1 minute, and when you lose cell service, drive like 5 trees down, then take a right and slow down. And so the cell service would drop. I'd drive, I'd take a right, and I'd start slowing down, and you would just see like a bunch of fucking Mexicans run into the middle of the road.
Wow.
And they would like speak no English, and they had like blankets on their feet, because they would like, I think they would wear the blankets on their feet so there wouldn't be tracks.
Probably.
Because there would be like Border Patrol too, like in the same place. It was different every time, but they always had blankets on their feet, and they always smelled like onions. And because they would come in on onion trucks, they really would. So they would always try to get in the fucking car too, and I'd be like, dude, do they not know the deal? Like, get in the trunk. And so they would hop in my trunk, and then I would turn around and I would drive off, and then I would hit service again, and they would be calling until I hit service.
Yeah.
And then they would be in my ear, and they would talk to me the whole time until I went through the checkpoint. And almost every time I went through the checkpoint, they wouldn't even stop me. They would just wave me through.
Right. Wow.
So I did it a fucking decent amount of times.
How much money are you making?
It depended. So if I brought the pollos all the way to Los Angeles, I would make like $7,500 a person. If I only brought them to like a stash house in San Diego, it would be like 3,500, I think. And yeah, they would, if I had to watch them for a long time, like overnight, sometimes they would have us take them back to the motel and like let them shower, let them eat, drink some water, and we would wait for somebody to pick them up. So sometimes I would make more if that was the case.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
But then what happened when you got caught?
Okay. When I got caught, I got greedy. It was my last run. It's always
It's like Blow, the movie Blow. You want to do that last one.
Yeah. This is the last time I'm getting high, man. Like, no, it was my last run. And I went to go pick up a few people. It was like probably like 8 in the morning. And I was at the Pine Valley checkpoint, and I picked up 4 instead of like 2 or 3. And I had like a Mercedes. So they couldn't all fit in my trunk.
That's a small trunk.
Yeah. Usually I would only pick up 2, sometimes 3, depending on the size of the people.
Yeah.
So it was too many. And like I said, there's people coming all the time, and the risk of getting caught, they'd rather me just leave somebody than take 4 and get caught, because I'm
safe.
I'm worth more to them, and they make a lot of money on people. They really do, a lot of money. These people are paying like 15 to 20, sometimes 25,000 to get across the border. So I come through, there's 4, I put 3 in my trunk, and there's one that looks like a little younger, a little less like a paisa, kind of, and I put him in my passenger seat, and rather than just leaving him in. And I remember they're in my ear, they're like, are you sure? Because like I'd been just fucking killing it, like not stop, I'd just been breezing through. They're like, you're untouchable, like we trust you, if you want to do it, you could do it, but like we don't suggest you do it, you should just drop him off, you could drop him off right now. I'm like, nah, fuck it, I'm good. And I wanted the money, and so I put him in my passenger seat. I go through the checkpoint, and they tell me to stop, and they tell me to go to secondary. And I'm loaded. And so I drive past, and they think I'm taking off because I didn't go into the secondary checkpoint. I went to the straightaway.
Secondary is when you get searched, basically.
Right. It can be anything. Sometimes they just ask you questions. Sometimes there's dogs.
Yeah, thanks.
So I blow past, and they think I'm taking off, and I realize I like didn't pull into the right area. So I reverse, I pull back into secondary, and I'm like, hi, officer. And he's like, where are you coming from? And I told him I was picking up my boyfriend. And what I had done is I had given him, it was morning time, like 8 or 9 in the morning. And so I gave him my iced coffee before we had pulled up to the checkpoint. I had a pair of...
Starbucks?
Yeah, my Starbucks, exactly.
Starbucks.
I was smoking Newport Hundreds then, you know what I mean? So I gave him a cigarette because I thought that would make him look like, I don't know, less paisa. And I gave him a pair of sunglasses. I had like a pair of Prada sunglasses. And so I put it on him, and I'm like, just act cool. And I had like my arm around him, like, pretend like you love me, you know? Yeah. And I'm like looking in his eyes as we're waiting to go to the secretary. I'm like, just play it off. And he doesn't speak fucking any English. And he's like, okay. And he was nervous. I don't think he wanted to get out of the car. Like, he was like, just leave me. Like, they'll come back. But I was like, no, fuck that. We're doing it. And so I pull up to secondary, and they look at me, and they're like, where are you coming from? I was like, I'm just picking up my boyfriend, and we're going to the boat show, because there was a San Diego boat show going on. Obviously, we're going to the boat show. I've never been to the fucking boat show. But I knew there was a San Diego boat show.
That's a good line.
I was trying to think
Mike's
on my
been
feet,
there, right?
man.
Yeah.
You been to the boat show?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to the boat.
Yeah,
Oh,
I haven't been.
you
I haven't
have.
been to the boat show. But I knew there was a boat show, so I'm like, we're going to the boat show, and they're like, okay, and they asked me these questions, and then they're like, what about you, sir? And he just like fucking looks at them, and he's like, blink, 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 like he doesn't know what the fuck they're saying. And they're like, oh, he doesn't speak any English. I'm like, yeah, he doesn't speak very much English. And they start speaking to him in Spanish, and they're like, okay, ma'am, can you turn the keys off and put your hands up? And I'm like, sure. And they're still in my ear. They can hear everything that's going on, so they're just listening.
They know it's bad.
Yeah, but they were. As I pulled up, I was like, oh, I'm burnt.
Right.
And they're like, just don't talk to us. Like, we want to hear what's going on. And so when they asked him, he didn't know shit. They asked us both to step out of the car, asked if they could search the car, and I told them no. Obviously, I'm like, you don't have a warrant for that shit, sir. I know the law, you know? And they end up, like, just taking the dogs, doing a walk around, and the dogs, like, alert them at the trunk, and then fucking 3 paisas popped out of my trunk. Wow. And I was done. It was over.
Wow.
Yeah. It was, like, kind of a relief, though.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, sometimes when you're just at the end.
Isn't that what kind of started your sobriety?
Yeah, I got sober in prison.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I didn't get sober then. I had fentanyl on me when I got caught. And
So there was a little party happening in the day room.
A little bit. Well, when they told me before I did the runs, don't bring any drugs, not even a fucking joint. But I'm a drug addict.
Yeah.
Any
You're a
drugs?
real
Like
one.
none.
You're like, okay.
Like even in the morning, I would be driving and I would be like smoking the fentanyl or like hitting the pookie. I think I told you guys on the podcast about
Nessa.
my little Nessie. Yeah,
Nessie, sorry.
the Loch Ness monster, my little meth pipe.
What
Yeah.
was Nessie? Wait, hold
It
on.
was a little pookie with the one, you know, the one with you put a little water in it, like the little
Yeah, the little
pookie
bubblers,
bubbler?
but it
Yeah,
looks like the Loch Ness
right.
monster. It
Yeah.
was green, so I named her Nessie. Yeah, so I had Nessie with me, and I had like a little bit of fentanyl, but it wasn't exactly wrapped to like be inside my body because I was so fucking cocky. I thought I would never get caught. You know what I mean? I was like, they ain't catching me. I'm in my Mercedes. I have like blonde hair. I'm dressed nice. I was wearing like high heels when I got arrested at 8 a.m. at the border on a Friday morning. It was Friday the 13th, actually.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and yeah. So what happened was I got arrested, and what they had told me, and what I had been told by other people who had gotten caught is, if you get caught, don't trip. You don't have a record, like you haven't done this before. They're just gonna let you go, and that's what they were doing for a long time. I did this like mid-Trump era, so the borders were not fucking playing at that time, right? Like, so Trump was not trying to let immigrants into this fucking country. And I decided that was a good time to do it. So when they came, or when they took me, I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm cocky, I'm still high. I'm like, they ain't gonna keep me, they're gonna let me go. They don't got shit. The cops come and the feds, the agents, and they're like, do you wanna talk to us? And I'm like, no, fuck you, like I want a lawyer. And I'm like, they're gonna let me go, they don't have shit.
Right.
And after 5 days, I was like, "Oh shit, they're not gonna let me go." I'm like, "I'm going," and then they sent me to MCC. I'm like, "Oh, in a week or two, they'll let me go." Oh no, they didn't fucking let me go. So the first my last drink was like fentanyl that had been inside my like withdrawing vagina for like 10 days, and some fucking Pruno. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and then the last 5-6 months, I was like physically sober, but I wouldn't say that I was thriving emotionally or spiritually. I was pretty fucking gnarly.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a story.
That's
rough.
What's up with the escort?
Thank you. That's about it.
Oh, is that
Andy's
it?
got to come out.
Okay.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks, you guys, for everything.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Glennis. Thanks to all our guests, man. Thanks to Lucky. Thanks to we had so many guests. I'm like lost count of who do we have? We had Lucky,
Ann, Alex,
Kingsley, Minerva.
Kingsley, Minerva,
Two-Tone,
Greg,
and
now we're just saying the same people's names at different times. Thank you guys
so
for
much.
listening.
Giant Drag's
Thank you for
coming
being
out.
Thanks, guys.
Nice, thank you guys.
Hey, thank you, Charlie, for holding it down. Hope you feel better, bud. Thanks, Seth, for holding it down.
Charlie
Thanks
got
to our
COVID.
fans that rode with us this whole time. We love you guys.